can. I can't really because I'm cutting my own.
I got a question for you as you come in the door, though. Do you think that Michael Jordan fans are the best?
I'm a Michael Jordan fan. I'm a Kobe Bryant fan. I'm a LeBron James fan. I'm a fan of greats. So I can argue on every side of the coin on all of them.
But do you think that Michael Jordan fans are the best?
Are they the best?
Hello, everyone. Michael Jordan fans are the best. And today we're going to be talking about the Scottie Pippen interview that happened last week or so on Valuetainment with Patrick Bet-David, where many people would say he made some very odd claims. But first, before we get into that, I want to immediately talk about the super chat that came in. It says, "Rest in peace, Kobe and Gigi. We miss you, Bean." This happens to be the day that him and his daughter died in that her horrible and tragic plane accident. But before we get into the show, thank you, Nick of Tri-State, wherever you sent it to. I think you sent it to Scap since it's linked. But Robin, how are you today, sir?
I'm doing great, man. Once again, it's great to be back another Sunday, another live with the crew, man. You guys know the deal. We got Dart in the house. My man Stream is here. Of course, Scapper's in the building. My man NMB Sports. We got the Czar of the video first, my man AOH. And I'm ready to do it because this is a topic that I love to talk about because Scottie Pippen is always trying to rewrite history. Scottie Pippen is bitter and jealous of Michael Jordan, man. Shout out to everybody in the chat, man. You guys know the deal, man. Let's roll.
Steam Engine, how are you, sir?
I'm well. Let's go. Let's go. I need to get monetized. Let's hurry up.
Scap, how are you today, sir?
I'm doing well. It seems like I might be lagging a little bit out here. I'm outside. I might have to move inside. It feels like I'm lagging a little bit. So I'll mute my camera and relocate here momentarily. I just wanted to say hello to you guys on the panel. Hello to everyone out joining us. And yes, it's true. It's a somber day. RIP to the Black Mamba. 5 years to the day today that we were robbed of Kobe from his second act. Who knows what that would have been? He was 41, gone way too soon. So, wow. Or R.I.P. Rest in power, legend.
Absolutely. Nick, how are you, sir?
Doing good as always. Should be an interesting topic today.
Hey, wait, sir. Your hair. Did you do something new to your hair today?
I spent all my time working on my hair for the interview yesterday on your show and didn't have any time to pretty myself up today.
I didn't even compliment it yesterday.
I know. I was so hurt I didn't bother looking pretty today.
All right. Well, Robin, let's get into it. What did you think about the Scottie Pippen interview? What things did he get right and what things did he get wrong?
Well, listen, man, everyone out there knows how I feel about the interview with Scottie Pippen because I did a video about it. I talked about it on my channel. And the main thing that I told everyone out there is, who cares what Scottie Pippen has to say at this point? Because Scottie Pippen, in my opinion, has lost all credibility. He's lost all cachet. So why would I listen to anything at this point about what Scottie Pippen has to say about Michael Jordan or the Chicago Bulls or, their interaction or, the relationship or lack of relationship or whatever he has to say about any other topic related to basketball, LeBron James or any of these kinds of things? Why should we listen to Scottie Pippen as basketball fans? That's my immediate reaction to the things that Scottie Pippen was saying. Did he get things right? Did he get things wrong? It doesn't matter. It's irrelevant because, once again, when we talk about having integrity, when we talk about, rewriting history and setting the record straight, Scottie Pippen is one of the biggest problems of rewriting history. This man is always trying to come out here and tell you something about Michael Jordan over the last, 4 or 5 years now since he came out with that book. So when we think about all the things that Scottie Pippen has said about Michael Jordan, the biggest thing that we can take away from this is that the man's a straight up liar, straight lying. So when you're lying about someone, what does that lead us to believe? Once again, you're making this a personal thing with Michael Jordan. When we think about the interactions, or people like us having YouTube channels and we talk about the fans, we're fans of basketball. It seems to me that the fans might be able to be more, objective looking at some of these players because a lot of these guys, they have their personal feelings. Let's think about someone like Isaiah Thomas, for example, and the things that he said about Michael Jordan over the years. This seems to be a personal problem that he has with Michael Jordan. A lot of these guys, so with Scottie Pippen, the interview, the things that he was saying, now it's almost like we could pull up when you said earlier, we're going to be talking about the Patrick Bet-David interview. Why do you have to, really specify what interview you're talking about? Because how many interviews do we have of Scottie Pippen talking some goddamn nonsense out of here, man? We don't even know what interview are we talking about? What opinion are we talking about? What statement are we talking about here? That Michael Jordan was a terrible basketball player when he got to Chicago Bulls? Oh, Michael Jordan wasn't a good teammate. Michael Jordan this, Michael Jordan that. I grew up watching this stuff, and I'll tell you guys right now, and you guys know the deal. Scottie Pippen, the things that he's saying, claiming, is completely unfabricated, man. This man has no basis on any of the things that he's been saying, man. And once again, who cares what Scottie Pippen has to say? Because Scottie Pippen has lost all credibility, man.
All right. Steam Engine, what do you think Scottie got right and wrong?
Again, rest in peace to Kobe and Gigi. As I check my notes here, I have lost person underlined for Scottie Pippen. And I'm going to give you some names, Dart, in case you're not familiar. Vadius Wilburn, Malik Monk, Marcus Jordan, Larsa Pippen.
Oh, my God.
You have your name out there linked like that and see how you come back, 6-7 months later. I think my biggest takeaway is that kind of like what Robin was saying, none of it's believable because he was doing a complete 180 less than a year ago. And some people already kind of put it in the chat. It does seem like those clutch checks just kind of stopped working out for him. You can actually see in his face that he's like, there's no way he believes what he's saying without someone telling you need to be in like a padded facility for a few days. There's no way you can just operate like that with people around you and not have somebody tell you maybe you should sit down and relax for a second, right? I'm not familiar with the gentleman who did interview him, but the one thing I will say is that was like watching somebody abuse a victim for hours on end. I've never seen so many answers tried to be pried out of somebody, whether it had something to do with his relationship with Jordan, which now all of a sudden they're estranged, or her relationship with Trump. It's like, how many times can you ask the same question, and how many times is Scottie going to show you that he's not even prepared for any of this? So I think that was my biggest kind of frustration from the interview, aside from the fact that it's like, again, Robin said, who cares? What I, kind of where I leave it is that I don't like a lot of these former players killing him, especially Draymond Green, because I feel like everything he does and says has a backing behind it. So I don't like this idea that now all of a sudden everyone's calling Scottie crazy. He's been crazy for the last few years. Don't call him crazy now that he's going back to saying Jordan's the GOAT. Even though at one point in the interview there was a greatest, and then there wasn't, and then he was the greatest, but then he's the greatest teammate. It's like, honestly, somebody should have, I don't know, maybe broken in and escorted him out to a place where he could be safe. It was kind of heartbreaking to watch, especially from somebody who I just loved watching growing up.
All right, Jay, did you watch the interview, or at least parts of it? And what did Scottie get right and wrong in it?
So first of all, I want to apologize again. I'm moving around. I'm not in my typical shooting location. I might be lagging here a bit. Do I seem okay? Can you hear me at least?
We can hear you. Yep.
Good.
Okay. All right. So yeah, it was, I watched at least some of it. I believe the entirety of it from Patrick Bet-Davis was like 3+ hours, something like that. I didn't watch the whole thing, but pretty much just to echo sports and fitness rants. If you've heard one of these meltdowns by Scottie, or one of these just really just pathetic, sad, and desperate looking cries for help, I really think that's what's happening here. He is crying out to somebody like close to him in his life to help him in some way, shape, or form, because he just looks deluded. It's sad. He's really the thing that stands out to me is how much he's destroying our perception of him, really, like the fans as a whole, the perception, like the memories that we have of that Chicago Bulls team, him and Michael Jordan's relationship, essentially. Like it's just really reaching a sad point where because I knew this show was coming up, I watched probably like an hour and a half of the interview, but I'm trying to just avoid it at this point. Like I don't even want to see or hear what this crazy, sad, delusional individual has to say anymore, because I'm trying to preserve some semblance of respect that I used to have for him. And it's sad, but it is, and we'll talk about this later on in this episode, it is somewhat affecting the way I view him, like as a player now, because I'm going back and I'm critically analyzing. Really, I have to underline the word critical, really looking into what was his actual level of involvement, what was his level of importance on acquiring those 6 championship rings. So I really wish Scottie would just shut the hell up at this point, go away, sit in some padded room for a little bit, maybe with or without a straitjacket would be optional, and just let us get back to remembering him and the Chicago Bulls the way that we were prior to his public meltdowns.
Nick, what did you think about the interview? What did Scottie get right and wrong?
Yeah. My biggest takeaway was the whole retconning of like the past. It's really hard to take people seriously when it's been 5, 10, 15 plus years, and it seems as if the story changes or their motives change. It's hard to take them seriously that some other things haven't entered into the fold that's motivating them to do that, right? So sometimes I will say, on a side note, I wonder how much of this has to do with his ex-wife. Sometimes I do feel like that is a motivating fact. It has to be on some level. I just can't think it's a 0%. So yeah, I agree with what most of the people have said. Like if you've heard one Scottie interview, you've heard them all. I listened to it on like 1.5 speed, the most recent one. So I have like just a few notes here, right? He thought that Wilt had 13 rings. He got him and Bill Russell mixed up and still got the amount of rings wrong. I also thought it was ironic that his main argument for why he was ranked so high was simply because of rings. Whenever that seems to be what the other side of the people we usually debate. They say we only count rings. I found that a little ironic. I also found it really odd that they never had dinner together, just them two. I understand you have team dinners or something like that, or like banquets or whatever. But I found it really odd that they never had dinner together or never played golf together. That I still am trying to process that. I don't know what to take of that. But what did he get right? Let's try to play the other side of the argument, right? I think that he properly identified what's wrong with the NBA today. He said too many 3-point shooting, and he more specifically said 3-point shooting is individualistic. You don't necessarily have to run a play for the way they shoot threes these days, and it's really easy. I thought that was – I've never quite heard it explained like that 3-point shooting is individualistic, but I think that was properly identified as an issue. He also said the players have way too much control. I think that's something a lot of us tend to agree with. And then he also complimented that the average fan is a student of the game. And he said that when you hear criticism, if you think that the average fan doesn't understand the history of the NBA to the degree that you do just because you're a player, he thinks you'd probably be wrong, that the average fan is actually somewhat educated on the history of basketball. So I'll say that, and then we can go from there.
Amazing take. AOH, what AOH, what did Scottie Pippen get right and wrong in this interview?
Well, he backtracked a lot of his trash talking. Like he had a period of time there where he was saying that LeBron was better than Jordan and things like that, and he kind of like flipped completely. But yeah, a lot of people didn't hear this because I put it in my members section, but I basically echoed sports and fitness rants. I was like, it doesn't matter what he says. He showed us that he can't, he has no integrity. And again, there's just too much emphasis put on people's opinions. LeBron fans scramble when someone comes out and says something in favor of LeBron. And it's like, oh, that must mean that he's the GOAT. I mean, it doesn't. It's somebody's opinion. And today, more than ever, it means that somebody's bought opinion. Gary Payton thinks that LeBron James has good handles.
Are you okay?
Can I piggyback off that when he's done with his asthma attack?
Wait. I'm sorry. Just the true stupidity of it hit me. As I was saying. Oh, Gary Payton. It's so disappointing, these old players. I cringe at James Worthy every time he goes on camera now. Reggie Miller, all of them. But further to my point, these opinions. Does it really change whether or not Michael Jordan was or wasn't the GOAT? Everybody was excited that maybe LeBron James cheated on his wife. I didn't bother talking about that because guess what? It doesn't change whether or not he was the GOAT. He could have fucked 1,000 women and it would not change whether or not he's a good basketball player. In fact, Wilt Chamberlain was definitely a better basketball player and fucked a shitload more women. All right, I'm done.
Mr. 20,000.
Himself. Real quick, just to piggyback off something you said, AOH, one thing I'm getting tired of is a lot of these interviewers, whenever a former player says something, their response is always like they had just said something, the most profound piece of wisdom ever. Like Scottie Pippen sounded like Socrates in that interview. Right. They were asking about which player was in the best shape. Scottie Pippen doesn't know how to say Jordan, right? So he says, Chris Mullin, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, oh, Chris Mullin. That's interesting. And I'm like, no, it's not. Like, what are you talking about? None of this is interesting. This isn't like what people came here to see. Stop playing the fence. If you're going to be strategic about how you're going to get, Scottie to take a hard stance. Not only don't take a hard stance on something like that nobody cares about, let alone this entire interview. So it's just something that I noticed. A lot of these former players, they're seen as these savants now. So it's, that's frustrating, but sorry.
The worst cop out was the "there's no GOAT" argument. I hate that one.
Yeah.
Well,
can I
right
say something
after-
real quick before you go, Dart?
Yeah,
That was
sure.
right after he said that he wished he could have been the GOAT.
Yeah.
There are no GOATs.
Yeah.
I wanted
Well,
to be
but
something that I don't think exists.
Yeah.
He did say in a portion of the interview that I saw, he did say, you know, he flip-flopped from LeBron. He was saying LeBron was the GOAT for a while. Now he said that Magic Johnson was more of a GOAT than LeBron or Jordan. So he now has found a new person to try to elevate above Jordan, and that person is Magic.
All right. Robin, you were going to say something?
Oh, no, I was just – go ahead, Dart. Go ahead. You go ahead, go, man.
Okay. Yeah. So the thing that I got most out of this interview is that it was said before is that either something looks like it's I'm not saying I ever thought that Scottie Pippen was the most articulate guy or seemingly intelligent guy or what have you, but he just looked off in that interview the whole time. Sometimes he'd be asked a question and he just kind of eventually got there. And he seemed uncomfortable, and it was just an awkward interview altogether. And you can tell with Patrick Bet-David is that he went and he was constantly asking questions about Michael Jordan. And I don't know if Scottie actually thought that the interview was not going to have a lot of Michael Jordan questions or what the deal was, but he definitely, it seemed like something was off with him. The thing that I think he got most right, and this was covered, so I won't get in the length of it, is really how the players are taking over and that they're soft, that they don't play all the games, that they are, the load management, that they're crying about things and that they don't even try to play the game. So I think he got that right. And this was elaborated on, but I think really that's what he got right the most. And then I think what he got wrong the most is talking about the whole, and this is just my opinion, that there's no GOAT in team sports, because pretty much everywhere it's in discussion that there's a GOAT in team sports. And I think with basketball, out of all the sports, that is the most prevalent because the roles are a lot more equally responsible for the team's success. Not to say that in other sports they're less, but the roles are so profoundly different in other sports. If it's baseball, if it's football, there's certain rules for what you can and can't do. Basketball, you're all playing the same role, the same responsibilities with the same rules. So I think he got that wrong. I really do believe that there's a GOAT. And I thought I really, just to bring it back to what I led with, it was weird, man. I felt uncomfortable watching it because he seemed like he was on drugs, or if he's just losing his mind or what the deal is. But And I know generally speaking, he's never been the most articulate guy. It just made me feel uncomfortable watching it at the same time. It just seemed like I don't know. Maybe he just didn't want to be there and he needed the money. There's something off though, or I felt.
Yo, but listen, it all goes back to when we talk, Nick, you were talking about the things that Scottie Pippen said that, may have sounded like someone who knew what he was saying. It all goes back to the opinions. We talked about the opinions. Like, everyone can have an opinion and it's all great, But once again, you must be able to explain your opinion. But more so importantly, for you to have people believe your opinion or to always, listen to what you have to say, your opinion must be consistent. You must be consistent with these things. Whether you agree with everything that I say or not, a lot of people do not agree with everything that I say, but I remain consistent with a lot of these things, man. These NBA players, they're never consistent, man. So like I said, from one day to the next, from one interview to the next, these guys will give you answers based off of who's interviewing them, based off of the, crowd, maybe these are Steph Curry fans. So I'm going to give a lot of Steph Curry biased answers. Oh, these are LeBron James fans. I'm going to give a LeBron James biased answer. You're not remaining consistent across the board. So no one's going to want to really listen to your opinion. How is your opinion valuable? And then you have guys turn around and say, oh, you're just a fan. You didn't play in the NBA. What the hell do you know? I'm consistent, man. I've held my integrity. You guys, how many videos can we pull up of Michael Jordan shouting out Scottie Pippen and saying, hey, man, Scottie Pippen, you know this, Scottie Pippen that. You never hear video or audio of Michael Jordan blaming Scottie Pippen, of him calling him out in the media, blaming him after a game. Oh, yeah, the migraine. He took an elbow from Bill Laimbeer and never came back in the game. You never hear about these things, man, because Michael Jordan didn't do these things, man. He wasn't just throwing these things out. But what is Scottie Pippen telling you all these years later? Oh, I didn't get my just due from Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan took all the shine. No, Michael Jordan got all the shine, man. He didn't take the shine. He got the shine. And he always gave your guys a just due. I mentioned Isaiah Thomas earlier. It's very important that we mention someone like Isaiah Thomas because this goes back to what we were mentioning earlier. It's a personal thing with these guys. They're not going to give you the consistent facts. They're not going to educate you. So Isaiah Thomas, you guys mentioned earlier, these guys are willing to throw away their reputations. Like you mentioned, Scap, they want to throw all this stuff away the way that we view them now, just so they can be bitter and jealous and tell you Michael Jordan's the greatest of all time. You know how much video and audio you can pull up of Isaiah Thomas? There's a video of Isaiah Thomas on the Arsenio Hall show being interviewed by Arsenio Hall talking about Michael Jordan in the 90s. This man went off. Go pull up video and audio of Isaiah Thomas covering the finals in 1997 and 1998. The things he was saying about Michael Jordan. Then you listen to him talk about Scottie Pippen. Then go pull up the audio of Isaiah Thomas talking about how Scottie Pippen didn't want him on the Dream Team and who the hell is Scottie Pippen to not want me on the Dream Team. Well, I thought you just said that Scottie Pippen was actually better than Michael Jordan as an all-around player, and he was the reason that the Bulls were started winning. Which one is it? Then go listen to the audio of Scottie Pippen's Hall of Fame speech and who he asked to induct him into the Hall of Fame. And listen to what he said about Michael Jordan. You sound like a complete hypocrite who's bitter and jealous of Michael Jordan all these years later, man. It's insane.
Yeah. All right, let's get into the super chats before we get to the next question. Nick from Tri-State, I think he's please. I know I say this every episode. I'm going to say it again. Please address who you're super chatting, please, so we know where it's going, so they can address it.
He's from Scap's channel.
Okay, Scap. Nick from Tri-State super chats for $4.99. He says the greatest teammate ever is Manu Ginobili. Clearly had the skills to be a starter, but came off the bench for the betterment of the team. What do you have to say about that, Scap?
Well, Nick, thank you for watching. Thank you for the super chat. I mean, I think Ginobili. I'd have to think who I would determine the best teammate is, but Ginobili certainly was a great teammate. He certainly could have been starting for probably almost any team in the NBA during the span of time he was in his prime, and he was coming off the bench for the Spurs just for the betterment of the team. That was that Ginobili. People talk about the Ginobili Parker Duncan pairing, like, you know, saying that Duncan realistically didn't have all that much help. Ginobili and Parker, Hall of Fame players, and I think all-star caliber, all-star level players. Ginobili was also a very clutch player, and he oftentimes he did kind of operate in the clutch times, sometimes even over Duncan at times. So absolutely, as a big Kobe guy growing up, Ginobili was always a fly in the ointment for me whenever those teams were playing. So nothing but love for Manu. And again, Nick, thank you for the super chat.
Another one came in with Mr. T. It says, does Westbrook prove Jokic is a better teammate than LeBron? I think this is also to use Gap, but I'm unsure. But yeah,
well,
we'll say it's for you. Yeah.
I mean, there's no doubt that Jokic is a better teammate than LeBron. Jokic is the ultimate teammate. There is no one that denigrates Jokic's teammates, talks more shit on them than me. I have been out here slandering the hell out of Jokic's garbage-ass supporting cast for basically an entire year now, and all Jokic does is nothing. He just celebrates them. He uplifts them. He never asks for anything else. He never asks to be traded. He never asks for more help. He doesn't even want more help. You know, whenever Kobe failed in 2007 and lost to Boston, got obliterated in that closeout game in Game 6, he was talking to Michael Jordan, and Jordan said to Kobe, figure it out. That was the message. Like Kobe's like, well, how do I overcome this? How do I find a way with the pieces I have now to beat what just beat me? Jordan said, figure it out. That's what Nikola Jokic is doing this year. I was making fun of his teammates, begging for trades early on, and I think they're the second best net rated team since December 8th right now. They laid an egg yesterday, but since December 8th, the second best net rated team, because Jokic is just figuring it out. The teammates love him. You can see it whenever he gets presented with the MVP trophy, how he gets mobbed by all of them. He's beloved. Jokic is everything that the media has been telling us LeBron is for years. Jokic is the one with the high basketball IQ. Jokic is the one that makes his teammates better. So absolutely, Mr. T. I think that the emergence, or I should say the resurgence of Russ in Denver this year just highlights it even more, what we already knew. Jokic just trumps LeBron in that category among many other categories, may I add.
I was thinking about you too the other day, how Robin and Scap get a little bit heated about Jokic. And you know, it's sad that the game has changed so much that we really can't debate what Jokic would have looked like back in the 80s or 90s. We don't know, but the game has changed so much that changes it. I think Jokic's popularity right now has as much to do with anything as that he's the anti-LeBron. Like the people that are sick of LeBron, Jokic is a breath of fresh air. He is the anti-LeBron.
Yeah, I mean the anti a lot of guys today, and I would throw Shea. I don't want to derail the Pippen thing, but I would throw like Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, who's obviously in that, and it's him and Jokic for MVP right now. He's another quiet, understated guy. I mean, when you see these just baby players today, these egotistical, narcissistic people just whining about themselves, what they need, what the kind of help they have to have. And if they don't like it, will trade me like Jimmy Butler. We're embroiled in that right now with him. Like Jokic, SGA, there's very few out there that aren't doing that. So I think the players that aren't are being kind of heralded more because they do serve as a foil to what we've had basically since like 2010, 2011, which is the prima donna baby era of NBA basketball.
Absolutely. AOH, where do you think Scottie Pippen, because he had mentioned this, where do you think he ranks all time? And where do you think he ranked across the 90s if you had to put a number? Was he top 10 all time, top 10 in the 90s? For both of those segments of time, where do you put Scottie Pippen?
You know, I don't do the ranking thing. Like I don't have that rank for pretty much anybody. Let me answer it a different way. It changes the more I look at Scottie. You know, someone mentioned it earlier. Scottie's mouth is getting him in trouble. Scottie's mouth is getting him scrutiny. And I was willing to believe that he was the great teammate, the perfect fit for Michael Jordan. And now I think that Michael Jordan was just going to make whatever he had work. Man, Scottie mentally. By the way, were there two interviews? Because there was one where people were saying that he looked better. You know, he looked like compared to when he was basically straight up on crack while saying that Michael Jordan was a bad basketball player. He actually looked better. So he must have done two recently, and one he went back on the crack pipe or something. But you know what's interesting is I don't know why you're laughing, Robin, because that dude was on crack. People were saying that Scottie didn't like, you know, that they showed him refusing to come back into the game, that clip when Michael Jordan had retired. What did Scottie think they were interviewing him about that moment for? Where were they going to put that footage? Was this just for fun, a private conversation? I don't understand. What did Scottie think was going to be done with this interview footage where he talks about why he didn't come off the fucking bench? He gets weirder and weirder. And on your interview with me yesterday, I said Scottie Pippen made me realize, oh, wait a minute, there was some of this diva complaining about contract stuff going on back then. You know, it's not just today. It's really bad today. But I was like, wow, Scottie Pippen was actually one of them. Getting surgery during the season instead of the off season, making speeches. Hey, I may not be here next year. Thanks for everything and all that crap. Yeah, sorry, I don't know where I would rank him. I watch some of those old games, and sometimes I'm like, wow, okay, Scottie was pretty good, and then I'm watching him like, shit, that guy was a burden to carry. He wasn't consistent, I'll tell you that much.
All right. Nick, where do you have Scottie all time and in the 90s?
Yeah, I mean, again, I don't have like my top 50 necessarily played out, but I'd probably put him in the 35 to 45-ish range all time, I feel. Is probably where I would end up ranking him. In one hand, I feel for him because it's just one of those things where he'll always be outshadowed by Jordan, and it is what it is. But I think he had his opportunity when Jordan was retired, and along with some other things that to really elevate him, he had a couple opportunities there where he just didn't quite deliver. So I think in terms of him being a number one option, I don't think people really will ever consider him as that. So I probably put him in my top 40-ish range. It's probably where I'd put him. For the 90s, he's probably in that top 8 to 15 range, I would imagine. There's definitely some guys who are ahead of him all time with what they were able to accomplish. But again, winning 6 in the 90s can't be denied as the second best player. And he definitely had a great skill set, could do a lot of things. I'd probably put him, he's probably on the cusp of like top 10 in the 90s, I would say.
Sorry to interject, but would any of us be ranking Scottie in the top 40? Do you think we'd be having this conversation if he hadn't been teammates with Michael Jordan? Or would he have disappeared into oblivion of someone who was talented, but is in the mix of all the other talented people that have come and gone?
Can you recontextualize that? Or are you saying if he didn't play with Jordan, this conversation wouldn't?
That is what I'm saying.
I mean, I guess it depends. I mean, I do think Scottie is a great number 2 guy, and depending on who he gets teamed up with, I could see him being as good as he was, possibly with someone else. Does he win 6 without Jordan? Probably not. Could he have won a few? I don't think that's crazy to say.
Well, they played in the same time. If he's not on Jordan's team, he's playing against him, which means he's not winning. Jordan's winning those matchups. Agreed,
but I'm just saying, like, let's say he somehow got teamed up with Akeem or something like that. That'd be quite a
that'd
matchup.
Be interesting.
The example they gave was Barkley and Jordan on one team, and then Pippen and some big man on the other team, and they were asking him who would win more, and Pippen said him and his guy. So,
oh really?
Yeah, I forget who it was. It was Chuck and Jordan on one side, and I can't remember. It was like these embarrassing scenarios coming from the interviewer, just switching players in and out, kind of like how people complain when we do it. But his was like all over the place.
Here's what I will say is, like, I don't think Scottie can be a number 1. That's what I think. I don't think Scottie can be your number 1, and maybe he gets 1, but I don't think he gets more than that as a number 1 guy.
All right, Scap, what do you got to say? Where do you have Pippen all time, and where do you have him in the 90s?
I think it has pretty much been consensus that Pippen is like top 30, but prior to his insane meltdowns and people kind of really re-examining that conversation. I think I would probably, in terms of re-examining it, I would likely have him outside of my top 40. I'd have to sit down and really go through who those players would be in front of him. But my expectation is not in the 30s for me. So somewhere outside of 40, I think, sounds about right in the overall hierarchy of all players that have existed in NBA basketball. In the 90s, I'd certainly say outside of the top 10. I'd probably give him, fringe top 15 probably. I mean, when you look at Pippen, look, he is a great defender. I'm not taking anything away from him on that end of the ball. He's a high level, historically excellent defender. Overall, I mean, he has 3 first-team All-NBA selections. 3. I mean, he went to 7 All-Star games. I mean, he's an elite all-time player, but I think to say top 10, even in his span of time when he was playing in the 90s, I don't think so. I mean, I would put, like, for instance, Patrick Ewing is probably a guy I think who is generally considered below Pippen all time. I think I would put Ewing above Pippen at this point. And certainly in the span of time that their playing was overlapping, I would put Ewing above him. So yeah, I'm cooling more and more on Pippen, the more and more context I get about it, because quite frankly, there's some things that need to be questioned. And again, it's sad if he just shut his mouth, people would just be going around and thinking he's top 25, top 30. And that's probably what reality most of us would be living in. But when you really dig into it, yeah, I think he's looking more, dare I say, overrated by the day.
Oh my gosh. Speem, what's your take on this? Where do you have Scottie Pippen all time and in the 90s?
All time top 35. In the 90s, I was originally flirting with the idea of top 15. I think I have to put him top 15 in the 90s just based on his defensive presence alone. It kind of pains me to do it, seeing how he operates now a little bit. I'd like to be not biased, but he was the stopper on that team for the most part because Jordan was carrying so much of the offensive load. It'd be tough for me to name a bunch of players better than him in the 90s, but all time top 35. You mentioned Patrick Ewing, Scap. If I'm him, and Scottie Pippen dunked on me like that one time, and now we see how he moves. Like, I feel like you have to say something, right? Like, you guys let this man dunk on me, and now you see he can't even keep control of his life. So, I guess he won. I won. I don't know. Just someone's got to say something.
So I had to check this because I recently did an interview, or not an interview, a debate with Steph Curry versus Bob Cousy. Now, y'all may be surprised, but Steph Curry only has 4 first-team All-NBA selections.
Wow.
So
wow.
How does that now I'm not saying, how does that affect your opinion of him if you didn't know that, of him on the all-time ranking list? I know some of you have him outside the top 10, so it might not change it that much, but if you didn't know, how does that affect, not the sidebar, but Scab, since you mentioned all NBA first team selections, and he was successful, even less successful than Scottie Pippen in respect to the championships, how does that change your opinion of him, if at all?
Dart, you're gonna get me in trouble. See, with my subscribers, I try. Look, I don't intentionally talk up Steph Curry. But I also try to stay away from him a bit because
you trash him all the time.
Well, not as much as I could, AOH. And this is why, because most of my subscribers and followers really like Steph, and they're constantly trying to get me to come around on him. But I quite frankly think very little of Steph Curry. I think you can put him with being the quote unquote best shooter ever, the 4 championships, 2 MVPs. I guess he's kind of crawled into top 15 range, I suppose. But people talking about him top 10, top 5, greatest player. Are you out of your freaking minds, people? Are you watching it? This guy's like the 5th best defender on his team, basically. He's essentially a liability defensively. And literally look at his pre-Steve Kerr career. I mean, pre and post Steve Kerr, it is night and day. Like Kerr has really, I think, in a large way, I think is responsible somewhat for Curry and the system that they play within. So I'm well aware that he only has the 4 first teams, and it doesn't really change anything, obviously. And I think what it is, Dart, a lot of people that follow me, I guess, dislike LeBron. So they look at Steph as kind of like the guy that thwarted LeBron throughout his prime, I think. So kind of like the enemy of my enemy is my friend kind of deal. They'll uplift Curry in a way, same way that kind of AOH was inferring that a lot of people are doing with Jokic today. I think that might have been Curry maybe like 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago. But when we're going all time though for Steph Curry, I'm not really that high on him. So yeah, like we can kind of lump him and Pippen. 3, 4 first team All NBA selections, like That means you were the best player at your position 3 times. And for Pippen, what, 16-ish years? For Curry, he's 36 years old, probably 16-ish, 17 years. He's the best player at his position only 4 times. Yeah, I think that has to affect you in some kind of way.
Think about winning. When I talked about Pippen earlier, a lot of the reasons that Pippen is thought of as highly as he is, it's because he was part of that six-peat. Now, if Steph Curry had had a teammate that took the pressure off of him all the time, the way that the brief period of time with Kevin Durant did, Curry would have a lot more championships, and you'd probably be forced to think about his greatness differently just because winning would be associated with it. Like his effort on the court, I think you need to commend. If he's a bad defender or not, well, LeBron James has been the worst defender on his team for 5 fucking years, and we still have to hear about his greatness and that he's carrying the load on the offensive end, which is also a lie. I don't know. I think Steph Curry would have a lot more rings if he'd been paired up with another great, the way that LeBron has his entire career. Career.
I got a question. Reggie Miller or Scottie Pippen?
You guys are
For the
killing me
90s.
right now.
For the 90s.
Reggie
I'm going to
Miller.
say Scottie Pippen.
Scottie.
I take Reggie Miller.
Can I go? Can I give my take here?
Yeah,
Yes,
go ahead.
yes, Robin. Yep. So where you got
guys
Scottie
are
all
getting
time
me
and in the
sidetracked. I
90s?
had something I want to say. You guys in the weeds with Steph Curry. Now, how about we get on Steph Curry, man? Goodness gracious. Listen, the thing that I'm getting from listening to you guys speak is the problem for Scottie Pippen is he doesn't have staying power on the all-time rankings. He doesn't have that. So what's going to happen? Yeah, maybe 20 years ago, you might have been thinking about Scottie Pippen as possibly a top 20 guy all time or a top 15 player all time. Maybe you thought the way about him, but you don't have the staying power. So like Scott was mentioning, over the years, you're going to start going down the rankings when the other greats that you played with in your era, the Karl Malones, the Charles Barkleys, the Hakeem Olajuwons, the Michael Jordans, those guys are going to have staying power in the all-time rankings. They're not going anywhere, those guys. Those guys are right where they are. Scottie Pippen is 30-something, 40-something. I don't know where he is, right? You don't know where Scottie Pippen is. If we think about the 90s, man, there's no way you can even argue Scottie Pippen's close to being a top 10 player in the 90s. Because what are you guys talking about here? You guys mentioned Steph Curry. Steph Curry's the leader of a team. All right, he's the leader of a team. No matter how we feel about him, he's the leader of a team. He is Steph Curry and the Golden State Warriors. Scottie Pippen was never that guy, man. You mentioned Reggie Miller. Are you kidding me? Reggie Miller was the leader of the Indiana Pacers. Every single night, this man had to bring it. He had to be the guy that the Pacers fans came out to support. He had to be the leader of that team. The franchise depended on Reggie Miller every single night. Every night that he came out to lace him up, the game plan was focused on Reggie Miller. What are we going to do to shut down Reggie Miller first? And then we could worry about guys like Rick Smits and the other guys around him. When you mention the 90s, let's be very clear here. Once again, this is going to highlight the greatness of that era. Is Scottie Pippen anywhere close to Michael Jordan or David Robinson or Karl Malone or John Stockton or Clyde Drexler or Charles Barkley? Is he close to anyone? He's nowhere close to those guys. Is he close to Dominique Wilkins? Is he close to Reggie Miller? Is he close to Gary Payton? Is he close to Shaquille O'Neal? Is he greater than Dikembe Mutombo was in the 90s? Was he better than Kevin Johnson was in the 90s? Was he better than Patrick Ewing was in the 90s? Was he better than Sean Kemp was in the 90s? There's a lot of guys in the 90s that you can argue. Was he better than Chris Mullin or Tim Hardaway? Was he better than these guys, man? There's a lot of players in the 90s, man. Scottie Pippen's nowhere close to being a top 10 player in the 90s. Nowhere close. The reason you would feel that he was is because he played with Michael Jordan, man. None of those guys that I mentioned played with anyone on the level of Michael Jordan, obviously. So once again, this highlights that. Where does Scottie Pippen rank all time now? Once again, this is the problem for Scottie Pippen. He's going to continue to drop down these rankings. Pretty soon, Scottie Pippen may not be a top 50 guy. Is Scottie Pippen going to be greater all time than Nikola Jokic? Is Scottie Pippen going to be greater all time than Giannis Antetokounmpo? Is Scottie Pippen going to be greater than a lot of these guys that are coming up now? Is he going to be greater all time than Victor Wembanyama is in 10 years? You don't even know. If Victor
Not even
Wembanyama
close.
goes out and wins 3-4 MVPs, all of a sudden, you're not even thinking about Scottie Pippen being greater than him. So he's going to continue to fall down the rankings. The main reason being he was never the lead guy, the number one guy. All of those guys I mentioned, they were the leader of franchises for years and years and years. They were the main attraction. They were the team that the team that everyone was game planning for. And Scottie Pippen was never that guy, man. Those are the facts.
Well, guess what? I'm going to argue something for Scottie Pippen,
I don't want
contrary
to
to
hear
all
it,
of you.
Dart.
So
We
all
must
time.
educate the fans.
Now here's my piece of education. So for the all-time greats, I absolutely agree. I think he is a legit top 50 all-time player, specifically with the team success, let alone the all NBAs, the all defenses, all of that. Now, when we're talking about the 90s, though, and we're talking greater, not better, when we're talking about the 90s, he's got a ton of all NBA defense selections. He's got a lot of all NBA selections. I think it's 7 all NBA and then 10 all defensive selections. He was a steals champion. He was an all-star game MVP. And I know, Scap, you were talking with Gilbert about this. He was not the first option in any way for being a scorer. But through everything else, all other statistical categories, he either led them or he was second in respect to a lot of the time that he was there, along with Michael Jordan. He had a huge lift on that team. It's not that he was particularly a Robin. He was a Robin on scoring. He was definitely not the scorer. So when I think about that, and I think about the 6 championships where they dominated the 90s, we're only talking about the 90s, I think you got to put him in there because there's only a couple guys that I think that you can put above him, which is guys like Michael Jordan, of course. You've got Hakeem Olajuwon. I'd put David Robinson above there. And then I think you're
Charles
starting
Barkley for sure.
What? Karl Malone?
I don't-
Charles
Barkley,
Stockton?
Malone, Payton.
No,
I'd say
I-
even
come
Gary
on,
Payton.
Patrick Ewing?
maybe
No,
Malone.
you're not
Maybe
educating
Malone.
the people,
I
man.
think he might be top 5, but I think he's definitely a top 10 all-time player.
I think you're
Shaquille
pulling a
O'Neal?
Gilbert Arenas on
Penny
us and just
Hardaway?
trying to say ridiculous shit.
Dart, listen, Dart, let me just say something real quick, Dart. What you're doing right now is you're making an argument for Scottie Pippen being a great player. No one's disagreeing with Scottie Pippen being a great player. That's the mistake you're making right now. A lot of people do that now. You see them in the comment section. Oh, you guys are tearing down Scottie. He's got all these defensive selections, blah, blah, blah. You know, Scottie Pippen said one time in an interview that he never won Defensive Player of the Year award because the media was too busy watching Michael Jordan. And I laughed at that. And I said, Scottie Pippen, my man, the reason why you didn't win Defensive Player of the Year award in your career is not because you weren't an all-time great defender. It's because of the era you played in. Look at the damn guys you're playing with. You got Dikembe Mutombo, Hakeem Olajuwon, David Robinson, Michael Jordan, Gary Payton. I mean, these are some of the greatest goddamn defenders in the history of the damn game. And you're going to act as if you didn't win it because you were out there going against Rudy Gobert and Draymond Green? Stop it.
I think, quite frankly, Pippen. I would even say Kawhi. What do you think about Kawhi Leonard and Scottie Pippen?
I think Scotty's. It was asked in the.
I'm going with Pippen because the man showed up to work.
I think Scotty was greater than Kawhi.
Obviously, Kawhi Leonard has a greater peak. The man was leading the team doing. When I saw Kawhi Leonard doing against the 2017 Warriors in the Western Conference Finals in that game 1, I'm telling you guys right now, this man could not be stopped. They had he made Kevin Durant, Steph Curry, them dudes look silly out there. Go watch that first half. Zaza Pachulia ruined that man.
Kawhi Leonard for a 3-year period there played some of the best two-way basketball I've ever seen. Like, it was just phenomenal.
The year that they won, which of course they only won because Durant got hurt. Like, they would have lost to the Warriors in the finals when he was with Toronto. But he has that title as the number one guy by far. I believe he averaged 30 points per game in the playoffs for the whole playoff run during that title with Toronto. It is a rare feat to average 30 points per game for an entire postseason run. It is extraordinarily rare. And win a championship. I'm sorry, to average 30 and win a championship. In fact, off the top of my head, I don't think LeBron James has ever done it. Not one of his 4 titles did he average 30 per game for that run and then win. So Kawhi Leonard did that while being an elite defensive player. So, I mean, it is tough. Look, Scottie Pippen probably has, I guess if you do the accumulated longevity or resume, but Kawhi Leonard's peak is substantially above Scottie Pippen in my opinion.
Absolutely.
Hey, if Kawhi did that, what he did with the Raptors post that injury, why does he keep getting a pass based on that injury?
I mean, the thing with Kawhi is that he proved he could do it, right? So no matter what happens, we will never have a what if with Kawhi. He did it. So I think, I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm just saying I think that's why he gets a pass. We're so tired of guys never having achieved anything when they had the opportunity to strike. Kawhi did it. Kawhi, when he got there, absolutely just clamped up and took it to another level, right? So I think that's why he gets a pass.
And look, you real quick, just with that to piggyback off that, I talk a lot of shit on Joel Embiid too, consistently, because I think he's overrated as hell. I think he stole an MVP. I think he is outrageously, I believe he's like the third highest paid player in NBA history right now in terms of on-court earnings by the age of 30. And if look at that season, like they could have won a championship that year if he just got through the Raptors. The Raptors, of course, Leonard hit the game-winning, walk-off shot in Game 7. That was the series where Embiid was crying on his way to through the tunnel, which I like that Embiid more because it seemed like he actually cared about winning and losing, unlike now. But look, you get opportunities. And sure, a lot of people might have opportunities because some guy on some other team got hurt. But we see the actual elite guys of this time frame, which not comparing them to any guys that came before, but the elite guys in this time frame capitalize on that. So Kawhi Leonard that's a great example that yes, the Warriors had those injuries, but Leonard made it happen. He got the title. A lot of people say, oh, if Irving and Harden weren't hurt for Brooklyn that year with KD, oh, well, the Nets probably would have won that year, not Giannis. But guess what? Those players were hurt. It was KD versus Giannis head-to-head, and Giannis outplayed KD, and Giannis won an NBA championship. Giannis is a champion. Like, Giannis proved he could do it. So I think, like, yes, we kind of want to detract certain rings and say, oh, well, this guy wasn't there, or, oh, they lucked out here. But how many people never show that they could do it, even when they do get opportunities? Because, again, Embiid had that same, I think Embiid had a better team that year with Philly, too. I think the Sixers had a better team that year than the Raptors, and the Raptors went and won a championship because of Kawhi Leonard. Sorry.
Can I say something about the all?
Terrible moment. Sorry. Anyway, just had to slide that in there. What's up, AOH?
I just wanted to say something about the all NBA selections. And I'm not trying to go on a Steph Curry thing because I know that's going to piss a lot of people off. But 4 first-team selections is blasphemy. Not even based on whether or not Steph Curry is good enough to have had more than that, but the fact that LeBron James has 17 All-NBA selections, 13 first team. And we live in a reality that if you took LeBron James off the Lakers very well might be better. If you took Steph Curry off the Warriors, they would be non-existent. They would not function as a basketball team at all anymore. You can't be selecting LeBron James when he's a hindrance to a team and be disrespecting Steph Curry like that at the same time.
Steph Curry gets a lot of things he shouldn't have too, though. Steph Curry shouldn't have been he made an all NBA team
Dart, where you at, Dart? Come back, Dart.
What's that?
I'm just getting Dart in here to dead this now.
2 years ago, I think it was, Steph Curry got an All-NBA selection, and I think he played like 60 games. He missed like 25 or 26 games. He might have played 58 or 59 games, and he got an All-NBA. He's starting in the All-Star game this year. Like, Steph Curry gets things too that he doesn't deserve.
All-Star game doesn't mean anything.
Have 2 MVPs. That first MVP was an absolute joke. That first league MVP should never have had that. So Steph Curry he got 2 and 2 consecutive league MVPs, mind you. One of them, the only unanimous MVP ever. Okay. Steph Curry was selected as the only ever unanimous league MVP in the history of NBA MVP voting. So
Then how can that be a
don't
joke?
give me the woe is me, poor Steph Curry. He doesn't get enough stuff. He does. If you want to criticize LeBron and say he gets too much, fair. I'm obviously not going to give pushback on that. But Steph Curry's in the same boat, in my estimation, as LeBron James. He is a media golden boy through and through.
Well, don't bring up all-star games because we all know that doesn't mean anything. That's fan voting and media voting. Sadly, all-star selections don't mean anything in terms of someone's greatness. They really don't.
I mean, listen.
When did they change
the All-NBA selections? When you talk
bro.
about the All-NBA selections, there's different ways to think about this. Once again, who are we talking about and when are we talking about them? If you're talking about a Bill Russell versus a Will Chamberlain, for example, when you have these kinds of debates, oftentimes people will say, what? Oh, Bill Russell was the greater player. But if we look at the All-NBA first-team selections, it would happen to be Will Chamberlain who was getting them over Bill Russell. He was getting those first All-NBA selections. So what does that lead you to believe if you just look at that in a vacuum? Oh, Will Chamberlain was obviously the superior individual player. He was getting the All-NBA first-team selections. So if you think about it that way, is that a clear indicator of who was the greater player? Maybe not so. You can have another conversation and add different things. When you talk about some of the All-NBA selections that a player may have overall, let's say LeBron James, for example, you mentioned him. He has whatever he has, All-NBA selections. He has like 3 or 4 All-NBA third-team selections, let's say. Some of these guys have a lot of All-NBA third teams, but when you look at their resume, it says All-NBA. But it doesn't differentiate between first, second, and third. So we must think about the NBA when they brought in these kinds of things. When Michael Jordan, for example, first came in the league, they didn't have an All-NBA third team. When a lot of those guys played, they didn't have an All-NBA third team. So to be All-NBA or to be considered an All-NBA player on your resume, you had to be either first or second team. So that shows you that a lot of those guys were actually greater, but they don't have the All-NBA selections because there was no third team back in the 60s or the 70s. I believe they brought it in maybe the 88-89 season, I believe, was the first time they brought in the All-NBA third team. So these are the kinds of things to think about. The All-NBA first teams, really, what does it mean for Steph Curry, the amount that he has or doesn't have? Because who's getting the other All-NBA first team selections? Chris Paul or Russell Westbrook or James Harden? I mean, come on, man. What are we talking about here?
All right, let's get into some of these super chats. So King Speech Row, I don't know who he super chatted. I don't know anymore. I think it was Scap though. King Speech Rose. Oh no. It's got to be Robin or AOH. It's got the link on it.
I think it was AOH, I want to say.
Okay. Scottie Pippen is the GOAT since his son is better in the NBA than both Bron's and MJ's. That seems to be the new criteria according to Bron stands. AOH, what do you want to say about that?
It's just weird what Bron fans will select. Scottie Pippen's son being better than LeBron James's son by the same argument would mean that LeBron couldn't have ever been that good because of his bad genes. I don't know. It's just I got to pick and choose when I actually respond to things that LeBron fans say.
Yeah. Nick
But
T.
Thank you for the super chat. If that was for me, I appreciate it.
Yeah, this goes to either AOH or Robin again because it's linked. I guess since it's not mentioned, Robin, if you want to say something. Well, I don't really isn't a question. Just it's a $5 super chat. It's either you or AOH. And it says, wait till the playoffs, Nick, Tri-State, and ask the same question again. I guess it was responding to one of the prior question of
they super chatting beef and stuff.
Yeah, I guess so.
That's a good gig. We need to get more beef super chatting on our channels.
Hell yeah. You gotta pay to talk trash.
It doesn't look like I've gotten any, so one of you guys got that.
It had to be Robin then. Yeah. Giuseppe DeRosa says, love Scap question, opinion on the whole Jimmy Butler situation. What do you got to say about that, Scap?
Giuseppe, love you too, brother. Thank you for the super chat. I appreciate you. What do I think of the whole Jimmy Butler situation? This is just utterly disappointing for me. I think Jimmy Butler was a guy who I really respected for several years because he was kind of an old school a throwback to the old school mentality, the alpha dog kind of mentality. Not to say he was the best player in the NBA or anything like that at any point, or even in the conversation, but he always was a playoff riser, and he played hard on both ends. He didn't seem to tolerate any of the foolishness from the younger breed of players that were coming in. That was part of his whole falling out in Philadelphia, because he just was clashing with Ben Simmons, bum Simmons. They just couldn't coexist because of these soft-minded players that are in the NBA today. But lo and behold, we come to learn now that Jimmy Butler he's cut from the same cloth. Like, this dude is now the one that is sitting out, whining, crying, demanding trades. Like, my guy, you are in the midst of a 3-year, $150 million extension, which was signed last year. This is the middle year of it. So he's making $50 million a year, and he still has a year left on the contract for next year. And all of a sudden, he doesn't want to be. He's lost his joy in basketball. Well, find your joy for $50 million a year, or go home, sit on your couch, shut the hell up, and stop collecting checks. Like, I wish there would be an adult in the room. I have hope that it might be Pat Riley. He might be that adult that tells him to go home, sit on your couch, shut the hell up, and stop collecting game checks, or come back, shut the hell up, and play. Because I'm so sick and tired of these players with multi-year left, with like literally $50 million remaining per year, whining and crying. You signed the contract. Play it out. Like, it is what it is. So that's my whole take on the Jimmy Butler situation. I'm disgusted with it. I'm disgusted with him, and I'm sad that it's impairing my once high opinion on this guy. I don't think very highly of him at all anymore.
Yeah, he has suspended him a couple times.
I agree with that disappointment, because even though I think that the Heat have talent-wise been overmatched against the Lakers, Jimmy always played better than LeBron, and one-on-one Jimmy always made LeBron look pretty foolish. So I enjoyed that at a minimum. But his behavior now, you nailed it with you have a contract and you have a job to do. Shaq defending what he said made me sympathize with Kobe maybe more than I've ever sympathized with Kobe. If Shaq's going around out there with just an absurd physical advantage over other people, but probably not the best attitude. And my God, like what Shaq just said recently defending Jimmy Butler still has me feeling a little sick to my stomach.
Real quick, can I say to that? I think Shaq got caught saying something stupid in live time for the first time in a very long time, and realized he couldn't back out of it in any way, shape, or form. Because once he said that out loud, saying, pay me my money, or we're human, blah blah blah. It's like, yo, a contract is a contract. Like, what are we even talking about here? And then he just doubled down on it, tripled down on it, does that thing where you yell over the other person to prove that you're right. And now it's like he can't come back and say anything, because it's going to remove any credibility he had left with TNT. So I think he got caught. It was like that time where he was trying to explain filling your gas tank to Kenny the Jet the one time, and everybody on set was just laughing at him because it was like watching a kid swear for the first time. It's like, it just needs to go. It was a horrible take. He needs to be like, he should be like suspended almost, saying some stupid shit like that.
I'm sorry, but Shaq does
dangerous.
this a lot. That's not rare. Shaq says dumb crap and won't back down a lot.
It's nuts.
DJ Ish super chats Scap for $5, and he says, "Hey Scap, do you give Tatum credit for not being a baby and also as a great teammate? The Celtics will win multiple chips and he isn't getting love awards."
Yeah, look, in a vacuum, I like Tatum. In a vacuum, okay? He plays hard on both ends. His game, he has a very well-rounded offensive game. He's a very good defender. He is a Kobe guy, so I have to feel a certain way about people who love Kobe. He won a championship. He likely will get more. So like I said, in a vacuum, he checks all the boxes, but there's just something about Tatum that I can't fall in love with. I feel like he's typically never there in the playoffs when the team really needs him. look, they kind of, I think, in my opinion, got lucky last year that all the players on all the elite teams that were there to impose or stand in the way of them winning a championship all got hurt. Then you had basically a teammate of his in Jaylen Brown, who was the best player in the playoffs, at least for the conference finals and the NBA finals. Jaylen Brown was actually the best player. So you're looking at this guy who's routinely first team All-NBA. I think he's been 4 years in a row now, first team All-NBA, and Jason Tatum. And he didn't win either the conference championship MVP or the finals MVP for his first, and who knows, maybe his only title. I mean, and then he did the corny Kevin Garnett, anything is possible. You know, the Kevin Garnett when they beat the Lakers, he said, anything is possible, right? Well, Tatum had some pre-designed, pre-planned, corny ass thing. I forget exactly what the corny ass phrase was. It wasn't quite any, I don't know exactly what it was, but it was weird and corny, and I didn't quite love that either. So I don't really have too much. On my scale of players I dislike in the NBA, Tatum isn't on my dislike scale, but he's not really on my love scale either. So I won't crush him as much as I used to, but I definitely am not going to be talking him up anytime soon until he shows me that he can be there in difficult series and win and be the main reason they're winning.
I think the reason why Tatum rubs people the wrong way sometimes is he's a bit of a jack of all trades, but a master of none. He's not really like the best at anything, but he's just sort of a solid all-around player. But he's hoisted up as possibly top 5 in the league. And so I think that's where it rubs people the wrong way with him.
Phil Leotardo. Oh, sorry. Yeah.
I was just going to say, right. He's first team All-NBA every year. He's top 5 in MVP every year. Like the things that the media are doing with him is indicating that he's supposed to be a top 5 player. But is anyone realistically thinking of him in that light? I don't really think so.
Phil Leotardo's super chats, Scap again. He says, MJ made Pip a good teammate, not the other way around. Any comment?
Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt about it. I think the Chicago Bulls, look, they were an elite. I think we can all agree they were an elite defensive team, one of the great historical defensive teams, specifically on the perimeter. Jordan played a huge role in that. Pippen played a role in that too. And then in the second iteration of the three-peat, Rodman was there as well, in the front court area. So look, they were going to be in games primarily because their defense was so great. But Jordan was pretty much like the only offensive option. I mean, particularly in the final three, the second three-peat. I mean, Pippen averaged like 17 points per game in the playoffs, I think, in a 58-game run during the second three-peat, 17 points per game. And Jordan was averaging like 31 points per game. So Jordan was pretty much the only guy that is offensively. So I think Pippen is really hoisted up. I think the point of this whole conversation we're having today, in terms of his overall ranking and his overall conversation, he has been hoisted up for years because of the 6 championships, and Jordan gets a lion's share of credit for all of those titles.
Brandon 404 super chats Robin, and he says, shout out to the wonderful panel of real basketball fans. This donation is for Robin. Jordan is the greatest competitor I've ever seen in my 40 years of sports. What do you have to say about that, sir?
Yeah, thank you very much for the like I said, the donation, man, the support. Much respect to my man Brandon 404 coming through. Thank you very much. You guys know we are truly, truly humbled, man. What you're speaking to right there, the competitiveness of Michael Jordan. We're talking about the standard. What you're talking about, what Scott was just talking about, Michael Jordan making Scottie Pippen a better teammate and, teaching him the ways. When people talk about, hey, Scottie Pippen, what if he played with Hakeem Olajuwon? He would have been Scottie Pippen. If he played with this, the difference that people are making, the difference that they're not realizing, it's not that Michael Jordan was such a great player, and that's what rubbed off on Scottie Pippen, right? All those other guys are great players. It was the things that Michael Jordan did that those other guys, they just didn't do it to Michael Jordan. Like, you think that they practiced like Michael Jordan, those guys? You don't see the film or hear the stories about Patrick Ewing in practice or David Robinson. Actually, it's the other way around. I heard David Robinson didn't really like to practice that much. Those are the stories that I heard about some of these guys. So when you think about Michael Jordan, it's not that he was such a great player, man. It was the competitiveness of Michael Jordan. He wanted to win, man. The greatest competitor in all the sports, man. All the sports, there's no one on Michael Jordan's level, man. Everyone knows that. This man is competitive about everything. Everything. That was the difference that Phil Jackson said about Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant. Michael Jordan was competitive in basketball to a degree, man. But Phil Jackson said that Michael Jordan was competitive in everything, man. Ping pong, chess, checkers. It didn't matter what the hell it was. This man was willing to cheat, steal, lie. It didn't matter. He's going out there to compete. He wants to win, man. So that's the difference between Michael Jordan. Scottie Pippen would have been a very good player without Michael Jordan. He's a very good player, but he would not have been a Hall of Famer, a great player without Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan was a great player without Scottie Pippen, but he was greater with Scottie Pippen. He was greater because of that dynamic they had between them. When you think about the dynamic duos in the history of the NBA, the one difference between a lot of those duos and the dynamic between Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen is that the dynamic was on both sides of the ball. On both sides of the ball. And Michael Jordan didn't take away from Scottie Pippen on the offensive end because Scottie Pippen didn't even ball on the offensive end. And Scottie Pippen didn't take away from Michael Jordan on the offensive end because, once again, Scottie Pippen looked for Michael Jordan on the offensive end. And on the defensive end, the synergy, like nothing, like you mentioned, Scap, the perimeter defense, what they used to call unleashing the Dobermans, they used to say it. The competitive Michael Jordan. Yo, much respect.
Dar, real quick, if you just give me a little bit of leash here, I want to respond to that real quick and just mention something that brings the whole conversation around and also mentions Kobe too on this Kobe's day here. One of the things that was intriguing to me in the Patrick Bet Davis interview with Pippen that we're talking about was the part where, and I think Nick, you mentioned it earlier, where Pippen and Jordan never had dinner together, and Pippen never even went to Jordan's house ever, other than he said when they were training, they trained together. I think in the second three-peat. So he would go in the mornings, they would work out in the off season, I think. But other than that, they basically weren't friends. They didn't hang out. And a lot of those things, a lot of those elements that I was hearing about were things that you always heard about Kobe Bryant. Like he never, like basically Pau Gasol was the first time that he opened up and became friends with someone. Other than that, like he didn't go to clubs. He didn't hang out with the team. They never, like Derek Fisher actually once said he had never been to Kobe's house in like they played together for like 17 years. Like you would think that they did seem like they had a good relationship, but he said he never went to Kobe Bryant's house. So there was a lot of commonality and overlapping there. And actually Patrick Bet Davis raised a good point in the interview with Pippen, where he said like guys that are so alpha, that is such an alpha, that sometimes they just feel like that's something that they have to do. They have to feel like they're the perpetual leader. They have to isolate themselves from everybody else. Like I don't know if maybe that was a tactic that Jordan used or what it was, but one of the things that struck me in the aftermath when Kobe passed away, one of the things that surprised me the most of the people that were reacting and responding to it was how broken up Jordan was about it. And you saw how emotional Jordan was when he was giving the speech about Kobe. I mean, he was like just tears streaming down his face for like the first 10 minutes. And really was talking about how Kobe would text him at 2:00 in the morning, 3:00 in the morning, and they would talk strategy. They would talk like basically Jordan really was a big brother to Kobe. And in Kobe, when he retired, you kind of got to see, unfortunately, we didn't see enough of it because he passed away, sadly enough, but Kobe was a pretty amicable, friendly, outgoing, like fun guy, which we never saw during 20 years, basically, when he's playing basketball. So maybe was he just trying to implement some of these strategies that he utilized, and that he was kind of helping coach Kobe along the way, mentoring him along the way to put that kind of pressure on the teammates. And I think what I'm just talking about to round out Robin's point now, what he was just talking about, those guys, Kobe and Jordan, made practice a living hell. Like they wanted to put their guys through hell, because if it was harder for them in practice than it is in the games, then there's no situation in a game that's going to seem too big or too much for them. So, and who does that? Like now, whoever did that really that you can think of other than like those two guys. So that was just an interesting point that kind of clicked when you guys were talking. So sorry to hijack, but I just wanted to lay that point in.
That was great.
I think Michael was such an alpha that he could only hang out with other alphas, and even then he would feel like he's the alpha of those alphas. I don't think he would enjoy hanging out with someone like a Scottie. I just don't think he'd actually enjoy his time with him. I could see him maybe hanging with Kobe for a little bit, but you know what they say about really, really confident men, they don't really need an entourage, and they probably spend a lot of solo time. I think it says something about Scottie that Jordan didn't want to do that. Like Jordan had to develop Scottie. It's like, okay, you're a project of mine. You're not an equal. You're not someone I can go and actually relate to off hours. It's like a kid that he raised, not his friend.
Yeah. Let's get to the next super chat. This is for Scap. It says Pip should get more credit as the year without MJ. He made it almost to the finals, and the team wasn't built around him. Also, he made MJ's job easier. DJS for $5 super chat.
What?
I see. This is going to come across as Pippen slander at this point. First of all, thank you for the super chat. I appreciate you. But I honestly look at Pippen when I evaluate his early days in the NBA. And even when Pippen was even, I think, all-star level in those early those series that particularly the last two they played against Detroit. Like, he cost Jordan those series. And then like the Pistons were winning championships at that time. The Pistons basically were dominating the NBA other than the Bulls. And the Bulls were right there in like 6-7 game series with them. And Pippen was flat out choking in those series. So I really look at like how many, I think Jordan probably should have had at least probably 7 titles. If it wasn't for Pippen blowing of course, the migraine game is the one that's really sticking out, that 1 for 10 performance game. But I don't really see, I never really looked at Pippen as making Jordan's job easier. Like Pippen, again, was an elite defender. Jordan was every bit as good of a defender as Scottie Pippen, but he was like exponentially better offensively. I think if anything, like Pippen, who got a lot of his action on either fast breaks, on cuts to the basket, whatnot. Like, if anything, I think it was Jordan that made it easier on Pippen because there was so much attention being paid to him on the offensive end. The Pippen's offensive numbers might have been a little inflated, thanks to MJ, in my estimation. And then he carried him in the particularly the final ring run, the 98 one. Like, Pippen physically was a shell of himself in that series, especially the final series. We all know the back was seizing up going. I mean, Jordan, if he didn't get that game 6 where he makes the layup, then he strips Malone, then he comes down and hits the game-winning shot, like, who knows? It's a little murky if that gets into a game 7, what Scottie Pippen's availability would have been. That game was in Utah. Like, Jordan, I mean, I'm not saying Pippen made anything easier on Jordan. I think Pippen was pretty disposable in my estimate. I think you could have flipped Pippen out for another serviceable all-star level player, and Jordan's still winning as many championships as he got, if not more.
I'll add on to that, but I talked a lot. Does anyone want to go first? But I really want to add on to that.
No, okay. I'm trying to run through the super chat. So if you can go, but it's just, yeah.
Okay, I'll go fast. It does seem like evidence in Scottie's favor, but it's a very intangible thing to say how much success is carrying over from the teams, from the mentality of the team. And the fact that they still had Phil Jackson there to carry on the tradition of greatness mattered a lot in that 1994 season. But that can only take you for so long, because what happened in 95? I mean, they were falling to pieces until Jordan came back.
Yeah. Like near 500, I think, right? Like 34 and 31 or something like that.
Right. And let's not exaggerate getting to the finals. Wasn't that the Eastern semi?
Yes. Thank you,
finals?
AOH.
Okay. A lot of people, a lot of freaking teams made it, have made it that far over time without Jordan. Okay. So what? We're all going to put them on Jordan's level?
Yeah. Story game super chats. Robin for $4.99. If Pippen is a top 15 player in the 90s, who were 10 players better than Pippen in the 90s?
Listen,
Didn't you
I
answer
think I rambled off a bunch of guys, but
you
see,
did.
I before I ramble off some names again, just for the people out there, for the educational, for the historical record, for everything. Before I do that, what I want to speak to is when someone say, "Yo, shout out to Story Games," once again, a true supporter of my channel. If Pippen is a top 15 player of the 90s, like I said, we could debate whether he's even a top 15 player of the 90s. What we're talking about is how you're remembering Scottie Pippen. You know, what bothered me about the earlier comment is when they said we should give Pippen more credit or he should get more credit. This man's got so much damn credit. He's on the damn dream team. On the damn dream team. He's in the Hall of Fame. You guys remember him. You guys mentioned earlier, Scav, you said something very important, man. You said something about what it's forcing us to do is to look and scrutinize Scottie Pippen more. What does that do? That's what I'm saying. This is when you start to realize that Scottie Pippen's remembered for being greater than he really was, man. And that's why I say they're trying to rewrite their history. When I hear these guys speak, oh, Jordan was 1-9 without Pippen or XYZ, I'm like, wait a second. That's not what I remember watching, man. That's not what happened, man. When you said, oh, name 10 guys that are better than Scottie Pippen in the 90s, I could probably go over 20 guys. Really, if we're being honest, man. The guys that were actually better than Scottie Pippen was, man. If we want to be real, these guys were not even questioned. Scottie Pippen's nowhere near Michael Jordan. He's nowhere near Hakeem Olajuwon. He's nowhere near David Robinson. He's nowhere near Karl Malone or Charles Barkley or John Stockton. He's nowhere near Clyde Drexler or Reggie Miller or Gary Payton. He's nowhere near those guys. Reggie Miller, he's not near those guys. Dominique Wilkins, he's not near those guys. But then we start to think about the other guys like Kevin Johnson, like I mentioned before, man. The Tim Hardaways, the Chris Mullins, Larry Johnson. Was he better than Scott? He made an All-NBA first team over Scottie Pippen one of those years. Larry Johnson, with the injuries, derailed his career. People don't remember Larry Johnson, though, do they? No, there were a lot of other guys out there, man, that were just, was Brad Daugherty greater than Scottie Pippen was? Was Mark Price greater than Scottie Pippen was? There's a lot of, was Sean Kemp greater than Scottie Pippen, man? There's a lot of guys. Shaquille O'Neal, was he greater? Was the Dikembe Mutombo greater? Was Patrick Ewing greater? How many damn names did I just say?
Okay. Let's get to the next one. Phil Leotardo for 199 says, where does Scap rank LaFraud all time?
Where do I honestly don't know at this point. I need to sit down and really hone in. I think just to piggyback real quick on what Robin was saying, I think certain players stand up better when you go in and dig in and look at them and evaluate them closer. Look, when I started I've been doing this YouTube thing and having a channel for like almost 2 years, a year and like nine or 10 months. At the time I started, see, people think I'm like this huge Kobe Bryant glazer, right? At the time I started, I had Kobe 4th all time. The more I look at it, the more I evaluate it. I've always loved Kobe. He's always been my favorite player, but I always had him like 3rd or 4th. The more I look into him and everybody else, all of a sudden, Kobe, to me, I think he's 2nd greatest all time. LeBron, when I started doing this, despite the fact, again, I did not like LeBron when I started, but I still had him at around 6 or 7 probably all time. The more context I look into him, the more context I look at other players that played throughout the history of the NBA, I think there is a legitimate and realistic conversation to not have LeBron James in the top 10. I think, yes, when you look at the counting stats and the 4 MVPs, and he does have the 4 championships only because of the super team stacking tactics that he took and the cowardly mercenary tactics that he deployed to steal those 4 rings. So I guess when you look at the whole totality and the accumulation of stuff, yeah, I can understand top 10. But when you really dig into the context of those championships, what he had to do to get them, I think you can realistically say he's not top 10 because like nobody has Karl Malone top 10. What if Karl Malone jumped around? What if he went to team up with Hakeem Olajuwon? Or like, what if he went to the Sonics when they had Gary Payton and Kemp? Like he would have won a couple rings had he been doing what LeBron James would be doing, and probably we would have Karl Malone top 10. But we don't because he didn't win those championships because he didn't do what LeBron did. So where do I have LaFraud as Phil Leotardo here asked me? I'm going to have to really sit down and reevaluate it here. But I think I would say he's fringe top 10, maybe not in my top 10 at this point.
All right, let's get to the next one.
I know AOH has him like top 70, maybe not top. I know he's got him not top 50.
This made me piss on the wall.
Uncle Rico's Revenge, I think, super chats AOH. He says, "Goat flopper, LeBron or Patty Mahomes?"
Who's that asked to?
To I believe it's AOH.
Oh,
it's
man.
It's AOH or Robin. Goat flopper, LeBron or Pat Mahomes?
It's LeBron. I mean, it'd take a lot to pass LeBron. But, you know, well, first of all, I just want to say something about Scottie Pippen's history. A lot of people think that that people look back and analyze and say, oh, he was underappreciated. That narrative started early in his career. Scottie Pippen was being given praise and pity at the same time. You go back to the early games, you can hear the announcers, oh, you know, playing in Jordan's shadow and underappreciated. How in the hell is he underappreciated when you're praising him in his third season? I mean, it's not true. It's not like people ignored Scottie Pippen during his career and only later realized that he was a good basketball player. That is not what happened. And as far as the NFL, what's more disturbing, you know, a lot of people think that the NFL has its integrity, or at least compared to the NBA. I guess maybe compared to the NBA, but that's not saying very much.
It's a low standard.
I think maybe more disturbing than the blatant cheating on behalf of the Chiefs is the excuse making from the analysts who are saying a lot of things that you hear in the NBA. You're like, oh, well, you know, you earn that at a certain stage in your career. This is fine, or it happens to everybody. It's justifications for what is not good refereeing. You know, no fan wants to see inconsistency. That's a big problem in the NBA, right? We're sick of seeing the rules go for one person, not the other person. And if you're justifying that in the NFL, guess what? You're going to see the same problem as the NBA.
– Absolutely.
Thank you for the super chat. That's what I meant to say.
King Speech Row, I think he super chats. Scap Attack. He says Pippen's problem is he only has 8 Hall of Fame level seasons. But before we get to that, I just want to say, I don't know if we're going to be able to get to the rest of the show because we've got all of these super chats coming in. So I think let's just focus on the super chats. Yep, let's just focus on the super chats because we've been doing them for half an hour, and we're only about halfway through. So
wow,
that's awesome.
Yeah, Pippen's problem is the only Yep.
Yeah, King Speech Row. Thank you so much for the super chat. Appreciate it. And yeah, look, I think some of the issue is there's only so many spots available. Like there's a finite amount of things to be ranked, places to be ranked, players to be ranked at. Like us saying Scottie Pippen's like 40 or 50th all time or whatever it is, like we're not, you know, just trying to disparage the guy, but there's only 30 spaces or 35 or 40 space. Like, it's not like everybody can just be top 30 or top 25. It's the same with the top 10 speak. Like, to say someone's not top 10 is like this big, amount of disrespect these days to somebody, but there's a lot of great players who have played and there's only 10 spots. So it's like some really great players are going to have to get left out. Scottie Pippen, we're not saying wasn't a great player. We're just saying that there's probably a lot more players that should be thought of above him that really haven't been until recently, because now we're really starting to examine it more. And I think that's kind of the point of what this show is about. That Pippen, we're not hating on him necessarily. We're just properly reevaluating where he probably should have been viewed at all along. It's just taken a couple mental meltdowns by him to make us look at it. And now he's starting to plummet to where he should be.
Yeah, when we did our top 10 ranking, I remember what came down to like the top 10 was, could you go two ways and how did you win? Which is not how I would rank like 1 through 100, right? I wouldn't do that. But when you get down to top 10, it really becomes these sort of on the edges you're kind of using to give one guy an edge over the other.
I don't think you got to. I don't think you got to be a. I don't think you got to be a two-way player to be top 10 all time. I think Magic Johnson's top 10 all time, and he's not regarded in any way a two-way player.
He wasn't a slouch though. Like you think about
rebounds.
Dirk or Steph Curry, like those guys just can't be top 10, right? It's a whole other side of the court they're missing. Magic was good enough, I think, on defense where he's not a liability.
I mean, Steph Curry had steals championship. I mean, I don't like, you know. He's
we've already had this debate, I think, a couple weeks ago about how good of a defender was Steph Curry, really.
Yeah.
No, but you guys are right, though. This is, once again, this is not a knock on Scottie Pippen. This show has not been to tear down Scottie Pippen by any means. None of us ever said Scottie Pippen wasn't a great player. Oh, he doesn't deserve to be in the Hall of Fame. How can Scottie Pippen be in the Hall of Fame? It's a travesty. How was he on the Dream Team? You never hear anyone saying those kinds of things. Oh, Scottie Pippen shouldn't have done this, or he shouldn't have been there, or shouldn't be recognized as this. What we're saying here is that Scottie Pippen, like Skev said, he's a great player, but the NBA's history is rich with a lot of great players. I mentioned earlier, Scottie Pippen is arguably not even a top 10 all-time small forward. If you break down the history of the NBA and you think about some of the great small forwards, someone in the chat said I'm an idiot for mentioning Larry Johnson, and they said that I think he's greater than Scottie Pippen. I didn't say Larry Johnson was greater than Scottie Pippen. What I said is if Larry Johnson did not get hurt at that moment in 1993, Larry Johnson made the first All-NBA over Scottie Pippen. So what I'm saying is that he was a great player on a trajectory that he would have been maybe recognized as a greater player in the 90s than Scottie Pippen. But if you think about the all-time great small forwards, you think about guys like LeBron James, you think about guys like Larry Bird, you think about guys like Dr. J, you think about guys like Elgin Baylor, you think about guys like John Havlicek. Scottie Pippen is nowhere near those guys, man. He's not in the same level of, that's already just 5 small forwards all time. So how the hell are you going to be in a top 20 all time or a top 30 all time when you still have guys like Rick Barry, you still have guys like Bernard King, you still have guys like Kevin Durant, you mentioned Kawhi Leonard earlier, you still have all these Dominique Wilkins. There's so many other small forwards that we haven't even mentioned all time. So once again, it's not a knock on Scottie Pippen. We're educating you guys out there and letting you know the NBA's got a lot of great players, man. Scottie Pippen don't got that staying power.
I think Scottie Pippen has to be a top 10 small forward of all time. I think he's above Bernard King for guys.
Why?
Well, in the guys that you mentioned, I think he's above
Bernard
Bernard
with Michael
King.
Jordan, Dark, that's why.
Well, that is a big part of the reason. But
yeah, exactly.
I think the greatness that.
Am I correct that Sean Kemp didn't make the top 75 team?
He's not in the Hall of Fame. AOH.
Okay. I'll take Sean Kemp over just about any power forward
Kevin
today.
Johnson's not even in the Hall of Fame. AOH, that's a travesty, Kevin Johnson not being in the Hall of Fame. Tim Hardaway is in the Hall of Fame, but Kevin Johnson's not. And that's, once again, not a knock on Tim Hardaway. Kevin Johnson was better than Tim Hardaway, man. I watched these guys in the 90s, guys. Kevin Johnson was a better player than Tim Hardaway, man. The fact that he's not in the Hall of Fame is ridiculous.
Sean Kemp would horrify today's players. They wouldn't come out on the floor. I was just watching a Sean Kemp documentary. My God, I don't want to be anywhere near that guy dunking. I don't want to be anywhere near him.
Word.
MacMan super chats Robin for $5 says, my man's Robin's classic rant.
Yo, listen, man, they know the deal, man. You know, like I said, sometimes I go a little off, I go a little crazy, man. But like I said, at the end of the day, man, I'm trying to give you guys the facts. I'm being honest with you guys, man. This is how I view these guys. It's not based off statistics, man. It's not based off accolades. You guys were talking about LeBron James earlier, Scap, you know, where you would rank him all time, and you know, you could reel up the resume. LeBron James is a paper champion. On paper, he looks amazing. You take LeBron James' name off the resume and you read off the accolades. You read off the stats. Oh, my God, this guy's amazing, blah, 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 blah. But when you find out it's LeBron James, and then like you said, you start to look into the resume. This is why when you have a resume and you go to a job interview, this is why they have references and they call these people and they ask them about you guys. That's why they do that. I could write anything on my resume. I could write I have 3 Lamborghinis. I have 5 homes. You guys think I look silly with these posters behind me? I'm just joking right now. I got 10 houses, man. I'm just playing around with you guys. Anyone can say anything on their resume. This is why they call up and check on you. Because what's going to happen? You're going to go to that job. If they don't do that, you're going to go to the job. They're going to think you're someone you're not. And you're going to look like the fool. And guess who that guy is? That's LeBron James, guys. Because when you look into his resume, he looks like the fool.
All right. Cash super chats, I think AOH for $9.99. It says the only reason LeBron has won a chip at all is because the NBA front office told the refs hands off the merchandise. What do you got to say about that?
Yeah, it's worse. Yeah, I was just breaking down the Celtics game using the TNT Overtime app recording that I did. It's not only you aren't allowed to touch LeBron, LeBron's allowed to do whatever he wants to you. I mean, the shoving in the back and the offhand stuff and the offensive fouls, the leading with an elbow and his headbutting people on his way. I mean, he's getting the benefit both directions. Don't touch me and I can do whatever I want to you. I'm waiting for him to start driving the lane with a baseball bat in his hand and then still not calling anything. Thank you for the super chat.
Yep, that's that standard we're talking about, the lower standard. But like you mentioned earlier, Gary Payton will say that LeBron James can dribble the ball better than Michael Jordan, even though this man dribbles up to his damn neck with his palm under the ball, man. What are we talking about, Gary Payton? Come on, you're not educating the people.
Oh, these guys, these ex-NBA players that have lost all their money, God, they need some financial advice because that's got to be why he's doing this. He needed a quick clutch paycheck. I don't know. That's just, I can't believe Gary Payton believes that. I just can't. I don't.
Yeah, there's some crazy stuff being said by players, by former
Taylor Parsons, Cap.
Yeah, there is some outrageous stuff going on today. I don't know what it is, if it is the clutch payroll or what the motivations are behind it, but yeah, there is just some insanity going around right now that. Like the Chandler Parsons thing, putting Kevin Durant above Kobe. It's insane. It's insane out there these days. Sorry, Dart. Welcome back.
It's all right. I had to go pee. Brandon 404 super chats Robin for $2, and he says, I sent $10 super chat. It's Sports and Fitness Rants.
Yo, much
So make it
respect, my
12.
man Brandon 404. Like I said, for coming through. Thank you very much. Yo, you guys are truly humbling us today on the live. You guys have come through. Maybe it's because it's Kobe's day. You guys feel the love out here, man, and you guys have come through, man. So thank you very much, everybody.
Phil Leotardo says, love Scat, but you guys host these on other channels. Yeah. Anyway, what Scav, what do you have to say about that?
Not quite entirely sure what that means, but Phil, thank you for the super chat. I love you too, my man. I appreciate all you guys coming out and watching, tuning into us here. Speaking of other channels, if anyone's here from mine, go look into all these guys. They all put out good work, and make sure you follow Dart here as well on MJFB.
Thank you for the plug, Scap. And yeah, just to reiterate what Scap said, subscribe to everyone's channel if you like what they got to say. Uncle Rico's Revenge, I think this is for AOH. It says, Scottie did what Butler is doing and MJ still won. I don't think AOH is here. Oh, he left and he came back. We've got two AOHs.
To that real quick.
AOH. All right. I don't know what's going on. AOH, are you there? We can't hear you. Oh.
Hey, sorry.
Oh, no, I can hear you now. Yep. All right.
I have to go mobile, so I was switching from my desktop to.
All right, you
sorry, what happened?
You got a super chat. It says Scottie for $1.99 from Uncle Rico's Revenge. It says Scottie did what Butler is doing and MJ still won.
Oh yeah, good. I've said in my Scottie Pippen breakdowns that if anything, we showed that Michael Jordan endured a lot of Scottie Pippen's bullshit and won anyway. Like Scottie was just throwing a lot of drama into the mix in that, especially in that second three-peat. He really was.
Hey, real quick, Dart, Phil.
What's up?
Sorry, let me just interrupt real quick. Phil Leotardo actually followed back up, and he wanted to clarify. He meant this show, is it only on my channel or the other channels? So I'll let Dart, I'll let you explain to him. I think you host the this is you're on your channel, and then if the rest of us link it, then you can find it on their channels as well. Is that correct? Just lay it out for Phil and for everybody else. Real quick.
Yeah, Phil and everyone else. So this show is being hosted by me, which is on Michael Jordan Fans Are the Best MJFB channel. You can find it at either the first part or the second part or all together. And then everyone here, they also multi-stream it onto their channels, so you're able to see it and they can get super chats and the like. So the show is hosted by me, and everyone else, you can see it, that is multi-streaming the show from my channel. You can see it on their channel. So that's why you're able to see it on Scap's channel. So it's not only on Scap's channel, it's on everyone else's channel that's in this show right now. We actually have around 560 people watching. Oh, versus if you're on Scap's channel, the 210. So it's decent amount of people watching right now.
Yeah, shout out to everybody, man, for real.
Yeah. But to follow up with that, Cash super chatted Scap for $9.99, and he says Kobe did what he did without help from the league front office or mainstream media. Imagine if he were catered to like LeBron is. What do you got to say about that?
Yeah, I just want to say a lot of people, I've been on this kind of personal crusade to debunk the Kobe was carried by Shaq narrative, which is still percolating around the cesspool mass media that we find ourselves in these days. And even the mainstream media is piggybacking this BS garbagey narrative. But even more so than that, just to talk about the media, look, I hear so often, probably the only thing I hear more than Shaq carry Kobe is, oh, well, Kobe only has one league MVP. Well, Kobe has 11 top 5 MVP finishes. That's 11, everybody out there watching in YouTube land. That is more than anyone ever other than Kareem had 15, LeBron had 13, Kobe has 11, Jordan had 10, I think Wilt had 10, and Russell maybe had 11. So Kobe's right. Those are the only guys. The names I just read off are the only people that have more than 9 top 5 MVP finishes. How is it that all of those other guys won a minimum of 4 MVPs, right? LeBron's got 4, Kareem's got 6, Jordan's got 5, Wilt's got 4, I believe. Anyway, all of them have a minimum of 4. Kobe got 1. You do the math on that one. How Kobe has all these top 5 MVP finishes, yet the MVP only was given to him once. Now, if he even got, let's say, 3, Kobe would be looked at in such a much different light. If he had the 3 league MVPs and the 5 championships, he only got the 1, but he was obviously, he's upper echelon. He's like, I think he has 11 first team selections. And again, 11 top 5 MVP finishes. He should obviously have more than 1. So yes, the media absolutely did rob Kobe. They were trying, I think, to discredit him because the golden goose LeBron came in right in the midst of Kobe's prime. So this kind of slander campaign kind of started when he was in the league, and now it continues to this day. Even God rest his soul that he's gone, people still trying to belittle and diminish the great legacy of the Black Mamba. I, for one, am not here for it, guys. I won't stand for
it. DJ Ish super chat Scap and says, JT just reminds me of like Tim Duncan.
As in Tatum?
I guess so. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I guess. I mean, I think obviously Tim Duncan's to me much better than Tatum. I think Duncan's defensive level is definitely much above. His defensive level and impact overall is a big, of course, was substantially higher than what Tatum's is. And I think Tatum's got a lot more help than Duncan at this point had. Not to belittle Duncan's supporting cast, because he did have a good supporting cast there, especially in the second half of his career. But Tatum's got an absolutely stacked roster in a fairly weaker conference. So I don't know. I guess his mentality is easygoing way. It doesn't seem
His
like
mannerisms.
Tatum. Yeah, I guess
mannerisms are a little
I could kind of
like,
see. Yeah, I
when
can see the comparison.
when he acts out, it comes off very like fake. You know, like his being mad and tough doesn't seem like real. You know,
I don't think Tim Duncan's ever acted mad or tough.
Tim
Except
Duncan
when
holds the ball.
Jason Tatum is nothing like Tim Duncan.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think so either.
Yeah, I have
love
to
the DJ
disagree.
ish.
Uncle Rico's Revenge super chats for 199. It says, and I think this is going to AOH or Robin, but it's asked to Scap. It says, I wonder if Fisher went to Barnes' house.
I don't know, Dart. Do you know? Are you getting that reference or?
I am. Fisher was not a very cool guy in respect to Matt Barnes' ex-wife and family, but it's neither here nor there. But yeah,
Like
you know
he
what?
slept with his ex-wife.
Y'all don't know this story? I was alluding to
I don't
it.
know.
Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah. Fisher slept with Matt Barnes' ex-wife, and then Matt Barnes confronted him, and it was a whole thing. It was in the news.
Okay.
You know what, man? You know that reminds me, man. It reminds me of the fact that, some of these guys, they play through a lot of these personal issues, man. You know what I'm saying? They showed up to work. They did what they had to do. If it's funny. You think about the Spurs, you could also talk about Tony Parker and some of the things that, he was being talked about doing, behind the scenes. And then you think about the situation, the topic that we're talking about today, the Scottie Pippen stuff. I mean, if Scottie Pippen's around the money, right? If Scottie Pippen really feels the way that he does, he really felt this way, all of these feelings, whatever the case may be, then if you really think about it, that actually enhances Michael Jordan's greatness. This man actually did what he did despite this snake of a man, this kind of teammate. This is who he was, his best teammate of all time, Scottie Pippen. This is how he felt about Michael Jordan behind the scenes, Scottie. And the man still was able to do 2 3-peats with you. I mean, to me, that's what I'm starting to get from a lot of this stuff, man. Like, damn. Because, like I said, when I grew up watching this stuff, what I thought I saw was these guys looking like great friends. Whether they were best friends off the court or not is irrelevant. They looked like great friends. They looked like they enjoyed playing the game together. Once again, when I talk about a word like synergy, and I'm talking about the dynamic between these guys, there really, to me, has been no other synergy to that degree, where it was almost like a big brother or a teacher and a student and a guy who helped to pull you along. No one really you could name in the NBA's history. There may have been 2 great players playing together, but not to the fact where that player really brought that player along. And like I said, the dynamic on both sides of the ball, man. And for this man to come along all this time later and make these kinds of statements, it really is, once again, a slap in the face to all the people that support Scottie Pippen, because, once again, we all love and respect Scottie Pippen. This is not enjoyable for us to have to set the record straight on the things that Scottie Pippen has said because it makes us look like we're hating on this man. No, this man is forcing us to tell the truth. If you really want to go back in Scottie Pippen's history, go watch the games right now. You go watch the 1995 Eastern Conference semifinal against Orlando Magic. Michael Jordan takes all the heat for that series. He takes all the heat. What the hell did Scottie Pippen do? Was he the one coming back from baseball? Was he the one that was rusty? That was the time for Scottie Pippen to lead Michael Jordan, to be the guy that everyone says he is now. Where was he in 95? He wasn't there. He actually went down a level from the series before against the Charlotte Hornets. But where was Scottie Pippen? Michael Jordan takes all the heat for that. He didn't blame Scottie Pippen. Hey, yeah, man, I just came back from baseball. Why ain't Scottie Pippen lead us out there? He ain't average 35 points a game. He ain't doing nothing. They blame Michael Jordan for what? Turning the ball over from Nick Anderson, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Man,
DJ Ish.
Hey.
Oh, what's up? Anyway.
Wait, hang on. Before we go on, before you switch to this next one, Dart, because I have a feeling that Robin's going to go off on this next super chat. Let me just slide something in pertaining to Robin. I'm going to take care of a super chat right now. I see it. It came through to me from Justin Fletcher. He's asking, what's the super hyper guy's name? Gotta follow him. So I'm imagining he's talking about that is Robin, Justin, and his channel is Sports and Fitness Rants.
Are you sure it's not me?
Yeah, definitely ain't me.
Yep. Yeah, go follow. So just to let everyone else. Oh, what's up, AOH?
I wanted to compliment Robin on that because we're so accustomed to Michael Jordan taking that we don't even think about the fact that no one on Jordan never had the luxury of being able to say exactly like Robin did. Hey, it's maybe somebody else could be the man. Which is exactly what you would hear for LeBron James. Oh, here's the reason why he wasn't the man. Here's the reason that he made a mistake. You just don't have that in in Michael Jordan's career.
Yeah.
All right, Dart. I think this next.
Wow. You guys really liked that one, huh?
Well, I'm just looking. This super chat, this next one Dart put up is it's been burning a hole on the screen. I feel like a couple people might want to get in on this one.
DJ-ish super chat for $5. Says the guy with the hat brim to the front laughs, but MJ didn't win squat till Pippen became good, just like Kobe and Shaq. Same dynamic. How many did MJ win without? That's it went to Scap, but it's for you, Robin.
Oh, well, I mean, listen, they mentioned Kobe and Shaq this. I don't know. Maybe I'll let Scap go ahead and do it, and I'll follow up.
Yeah, I think, look, this is a common misconception. I see it all the time. Like, oh, well, Jordan couldn't win anything without Pippen. Oh, Jordan was 1-9 without Pippen. Listen, Jordan needed a guy, like any guy, like a serviceable fringe all-star caliber guy. This is what I always talk about. Like, it's not that Jordan didn't need a super team. He didn't need a top 20 all-time guy or a top 25 all-time guy. He needed like a serviceable fringe all-star. Like, when he didn't have that, he was still largely viewed as the best player in the NBA. Like, elite prime Bird and Magic, when they were ruling the NBA in the 80s, largely would agree in a private moment, and sometimes not so private, like when Larry Bird referred to Michael Jordan as God disguised as Michael Jordan, that Jordan was the best player, even when Jordan was like in his early 20s, and those guys were winning MVPs every year and going to the finals and competing for championships every season. They still thought Jordan was the best player at that point in time. But Jordan did not have enough help. This isn't the same as LeBron not having enough help, because LeBron always seems to have enough help. He just always needs more. Jordan needed just any semblance of a viable, real, like, guy that he could rely on that was a serviceable fringe all-star. Like I said, that happened to be Scottie Pippen. To me, it could have been any number of like 10 to 15 other guys that were playing in the NBA at the time. It just so happened to be Scottie Pippen. And then what happened? Oh, Jordan just won every single year. That's why, to me, like, it was Kobe when after Shaq left, because this guy mentions Kobe, DJ-ish. Thank you for the super chat, by the way. Kobe, when Shaq left, was the best player by far to me in the NBA, but he didn't have anything. He needed one guy, one serviceable fringe all-star guy. They got Pau Gasol, and then what happened? Oh, Kobe went to 3 straight finals and won back-to-back. That was the dynamic to me with Pippen. They're not equals. He just was a means to an end to Michael Jordan, in my opinion.
I want to thank DJ Ish for upping my timeline. I have a rough draft making fun of this whole narrative in the members section, and I'm going to go ahead and just finish that today. Ish, if on the screen so that I can lambast you in the video itself, that'd be great.
DJ Ish, by the way, real quick before you take it, Robin, he came back in. He just responded to me with another super chat. Said, yes, Scap, and the guy was Scottie Pippen. That's the point. Shaq needed Kobe. See, again, I'm not looking. That's kind of comparing Kobe to Pippen. That's a bit slanderous in my opinion. Kobe was at a much higher level than Scottie Pippen. To me, if we're talking about Kobe and Pippen, again, I would kind of invoke Pau Gasol's name. To me, Scottie Pippen and Pau Gasol are the more comparable type players. Like, they were lucky to be there. Like, yes, Jordan needed somebody. Yes, Kobe needed somebody, but it could have been any number of people. Like, it was Pippen and Gasol that were the fortunate ones to be that guy, because Kobe and Jordan were going to do what they did if they got any number of other guys that were a serviceable contender and competitor for them.
Listen, this guy said, he called me the guy with that hat brim to the front. No. Listen, I'm the guy who's educating you right now. So I want you, listen, this is not personal either. I'm educating. This is why I'm here. This is why you guys are here, to be educated. So let's think about this once and for all. Let's think about it and be very clear here. I want DJ Ish to super chat in a penny, whatever you want to do. Put it in what I'm about to ask you here. I want you to name me the NBA player that had 6 or more NBA championships that had less help than Michael Jordan. Less help than Michael Jordan. You name me that guy. You put him out there, a guy that won those championships, had less help than Michael Jordan, man. You put him out there, man. Let me know who he is. That's number one. Number two, and more importantly, you're making, once again, a fatal mistake like a lot of these clowns out here. Michael Jordan, you're holding to a higher standard than anyone else in the history of the game. Because what are we talking about here? Michael Jordan's not allowed to have any help. He can't have any good teammates. God forbid Michael Jordan had a teammate that made an all-star team, that was an all-NBA performer, that played good defense, that showed up to work every night. God forbid Michael Jordan had that, because no other player in NBA history had that. No one else had that. I want you also to think about this, DJ Ish, my man. How many times was Scottie Pippen in the NBA Finals with Michael Jordan? How many opportunities to win a Finals MVP did he have? And how many Finals MVPs did he actually win? Now, we can argue back and forth, oh, he's not going to win one playing with Michael Jordan. Well, Joe Dumars won playing with Isaiah Thomas. James Worthy won playing with Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and Magic Johnson. Cedric Maxwell won playing with Larry Bird. There have been Tony Parker won playing with Tim Duncan. There have been many great players that played with other all-time great players, but they stepped up in that moment and they earned a Finals MVP. Scottie Pippen had 6 opportunities. If he was really that close to Michael Jordan, if he was really a top 5 90s guy or a top 10 90s guy, then I'm telling you guys right now, he would have won at least one of those Finals MVPs, because he would have stepped up to a degree, because he would have had that kind of game. If you look at the stats, DJ Ish, who has the lowest supporting cast in NBA's history to win championships? It happens to be Michael Jordan. Who led the oldest championship team in NBA's history? It happens to be Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan is still the only player in the history of the game to win a championship, to lead a team to a championship, having one other player in double figures. That guy being Scottie Pippen at a whopping 17 points per game. Thank you, Scottie Pippen, in 1997.
Yeah, I think you can even modify what Robin just said real quick, and then we can move on if you want. He said who has 6 championships or more that had less. I think you can cut that to like what all-time great player won 3 championships with less help, even 3 championships with less help than Jordan. To me, it's nobody. Jordan had definitely the lowest amount of supporting cast overall to be dynastic than as any all-time great that we look at.
Yo, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar is considered by a lot of people a greatest of all time contender. One of the guys that you would always mention. This man has 6 championships. He's got 2 Finals MVPs, man. 2. So does that mean that Kareem Abdul-Jabbar didn't have no damn help? No, he had guys out there doing that damn thing, man.
All right.
I'm the guy with the brim hat to the front, though. You answer those questions.
Grandpa loves the people. Super chats for $10. I'm not sure if it was the AOH or Robin that said Pip did make Jordan's job easier. Not saying he couldn't win without Pip. The main reason he's getting clowned is for his personal life and time wearing his heart on his sleeve. AOH, are you there? If you want to answer it.
I'm here. Hey, you lost me with the heart on the sleeve shit. So like everybody gets a pass to say dumb crap because all they're doing is all the time society now. It's like, yeah, I was having a bad day. Sorry I ran over your kid and wasn't paying attention while I was driving. But let me tell you my sob story that alleviates me from the responsibility of driving. Sorry, I'm really grouchy now. Listen to all this
Pippen is
fucking
telling his truth.
He
yeah,
wants to feel
his
seen,
truth.
guys. He needs to
He
feel
finally
seen.
broke his silence, right? Yeah, many of these videos breaks his 10 hours have gone by since the headline breaks his silence. My God. Um, look, we said it earlier. We said it earlier. Yes, Pippen's mouth is what has caused this avalanche of people going back and realizing, wait a minute, you overpraising yourself and bad mouthing your team, thanking God you were fortunate enough to get to play alongside Michael Jordan is what has caused all of us to take another look at you. And guess what? The evidence is not friendly for. I've done breakdown videos on this, and I'm going to make another one today. Fire truck going by, so I'm going to mute.
Is it going to your house? Is that why you went outside? No.
Yo, you know, he said that he made Jordan's job easier. And absolutely, he made Michael Jordan's job easier. And why and how did he make Michael Jordan's easier? Well, number one, because Michael Jordan was doing everything for the Chicago Bulls. He was literally doing everything for the Bulls, and the Bulls were winning and losing because of Michael Jordan. That was the Chicago Bulls in the mid-'80s when Michael Jordan first got there. If you watch a lot of those games, what you'll notice a lot of times, people say, oh, Michael Jordan was out there just chucking up shots. Go watch the games. What you'll notice is because no one had an offensive game, no one could really get their own shot except for what, maybe Orlando Woolridge, and he wasn't a guy. So you would see the Bulls come down the court, the ball would get passed around, everybody would touch the ball, and it would end up back in Michael Jordan's hands because no one wants to take a damn shot, man, because no one could score the basketball. When you think about people saying that Michael Jordan was just a scorer and Pippen made the game easier for him, there was many times where Michael Jordan came out of the game, the Bulls may have had a small lead or whatever the case may be. Michael Jordan goes out the game and the game gets out of hand. So Scottie Pippen allowed Michael Jordan to take a breather, to take a break. And once again, people say, oh, Scottie Pippen guarded the other team's best player all the time, every night, because Michael Jordan couldn't do these things. It wasn't about Michael Jordan not being able to do these things because that's what he was doing the first several seasons he was in the league. But how is that going to help the Bulls or maximize their chance of winning games and being a championship contending team when your best player has to literally carry your team on offense and guard the other team's best perimeter threat every night? That's not smart basketball. That's not going to help you win. So Scottie Pippen should do. That's not a knock on Michael Jordan, man. I love when people talk about the 91 finals to tear down Michael Jordan. They'll make up a narrative that Scottie Pippen guarded Magic Johnson and that turned the series all of a sudden. No, what turned the series was Michael Jordan hitting a goddamn game time shot to send the game into overtime in game 3. That's what changed the goddamn series. It had nothing to do with no Scottie Pippen playing defense, because if you watch the series, that wasn't necessarily the case. So once again, these are the facts that we're talking about. They're trying to create a narrative around Michael Jordan, and they'll say, oh, Michael Jordan was getting the business done to him. Here's Magic Johnson was schooling Michael Jordan. So what? He's Magic Johnson. No, duh, he was doing Michael Jordan out there. He does everybody. That's why it's Magic Johnson. What are we talking about here?
We got a super chat from Precision Building for $10. It says, to improve the game and viewership, should the NBA limit threes to 20 a game, 2 points each, 3 after cap, or give 3 points for dunks? And then he says, Scap first, need all opinions, even Robin. Thanks, guys. Great show. I'm going to take this first. No, but I think it'll get a little diluted and complicated. And I think you would have to, I think you'd have to put a foul versus just reducing the points after it reaches a certain limit to 2. I think you'd have to put more of a standard or a negative behind it. Otherwise, they're just not going to shoot it anyway. So I don't know. If they would shoot it on occasion, but if it's worth 2 points, then I think there'd have to be something more to it. But anyway, Scab, what do you have to say about this?
Yeah, I'll try to keep this short. Unequivocally, no to 3 points for dunks. That's outrageous. I would also say really no to limiting 3-point shots. I think what you need to do is incentivize people to start defending again. That's the problem. It's not the 3-point shooting. It's the fact that nobody's really defending the 3-point line as much as they could, and no one's defending overall. I think there's easy steps to take that could kind of get us righted in terms of the viewership, in terms of popularity. And it begins with enhancing competition and allowing these players, hell, making them want to defend again. And look, we put in the illegal zoning came out, and that kind of ushered in a lot more zone play in the NBA by and large. I think if you put the illegal, first of all, hand checking back in, let them put hands on guys, let them influence them and move them and stuff if they don't have the ball. And then secondarily, if you put the illegal zoning rules back in, you're essentially forcing people to play one-on-one basketball more, which, do you want to get beat on by the other guy? I think zoning allows you to kind of remove the responsibility of a guy going off. Like, some guy gives you 45 or 50 points. You say, well, I wasn't really defending him. He was in like whatever, like he was in the quadrant of the zone or whatever, or we put a lot of different guys. We try different personnel on him or whatever. No, let's make you responsible for guarding this guy. Like if you want to see this guy have 45 or 50 points on you, it's going to be you that's giving it up. Like, will your personal pride actually kick in and make you want to defend harder and play harder? And let's go ahead and give these guys the tools that they need in allowing them to be more physical and put their hands on players again. I think the 3-point shooting would kind of take care of itself if we started doing those kinds of things.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sorry. Was somebody going to go?
No, but on a sidebar, I'm going to have to get going soon. So we got a lot more. So if we,
I just wanted to add on to what you guys were saying. To me, what would help also, I mean, I think Scabby, the money, the physicality of the game, bring back the hand checking, things of that nature, it'll make the game more of a rivalry, feel more competitive. And also bring the standard back of the officiating. Force these guys to dribble like Bob Cousy back in the 50s and the 60s. Force these guys to not be able to take 4 or 5 steps and carry the ball that way, because then they won't have the freedom to do what they do. When people tell me, oh, the guys back in the day couldn't guard these guys today because they're so skilled with the basketball. Yeah, you may be able to say that on face value, but why would that be true? Because these guys can manipulate the ball. Who's going to be able to guard someone that can take 5 steps and carry the ball everywhere? That's why these guys are so dynastic. So if they up the standard of officiating and really scrutinize these guys, I think that would help the game a lot too, man.
The current state of palming the basketball is just utterly disgusting. It drives me nuts.
Yep.
AOH, anything to add on that?
Sure. I would say that in addition to LeBron James not being a good ball handler, he's allowed to commit offensive fouls when someone actually tries to do something about it. It's like, hey, here, I can't dribble. If you want to try and steal it, I'll just shove you to the ground and the rest will do absolutely nothing about it.
Interesting. In lieu of Dart, he did flash up this next super chat from Luffy D King for $1.99. I don't know who it's to, but my name's on it. So Luffy, if that was to me, I appreciate it. Thank you very much. And the question here is Steph Curry over LeBron and KD all time. And this is going to be a long topic, long question, and long answer, which we don't necessarily have today. Maybe since we're going to be matriculating towards the All-Star game, and all 3 of these guys were voted All-Star starters, despite the fact they're, I don't know, like 45 years old each. Maybe this is a conversation we can get into for a whole show possibly down the road. I think, gun to my head though, Luffy, real quick, just to succinctly put it, I think Curry won the most challenging championships of all of these guys. I think the 2 that he got without KD are better than any of KD's or LeBron's. So I think maybe I would probably start considering Curry, even though I don't like any of those three guys. But gun to my head with just those three, I might consider Curry, yes, over LeBron, definitely over Durant.
Consider
Scabby.
the 2022 one, and because people will put Clay as a part of a super team. They won 2022 despite Clay. Clay was hurting them, and they still won. So just a little perspective on the super team thing.
Scab, you got another super chat from Giuseppe DeRosa for $2 that said, who had more help, LeBron or Harry Potter?
Giuseppe, thank you very much for the super chat. I'm not very well versed in the Harry Potter universe. I've seen the movies. I haven't read the books. I don't know, so I don't really know what the answer to that one is. I'll tell you this: LeBron's level of help has been kind of commensurate to the Avengers, in my estimation. So I would say maybe LeBron has more help than the Avengers. No, I'd say less help than the Avengers, more help than Harry Potter. Let's put it that way.
I don't know, man. Harry Potter had a lot of help.
Nick has revealed himself as a Harry Potter nerd, everyone.
There's a funny poll I like to bring up all the time, and it's men and women ranking the best movies of all time, and Harry Potter is like 5 of the top 10 for women. And of course, men, it's like Dirty Harry, all these other war movies, stuff like that. It's like really funny to see in real time.
We got another super chat. The Scab that says, Grandpa loves the people. Only a specific type of personality could play with Jordan.
Oh God, I'd love to jump on that.
Grandpa, thank you so much, everyone. Thank you guys. I seem to get a lot of super chat things today, so I really appreciate you guys. Thank you very much for supporting me, the channel. Please go out and look into all these other guys. They're great as well. They put in great work on this platform too. And I agree. It did take a certain personality to play with Jordan, just like Kobe. I mean, these guys are demanding. They were perfectionists through and through to themselves. They expected nothing but perfection out of themselves. So why would they expect or allow anything less from the teammates that they had? So not a lot of people could play under those demanding kind of situations that they put these players in. So agreed.
Really, it's just somebody who's willing to do their job and enjoy the best being next to them.
Yes, but a lot of these guys don't want that, AOH. They just want to make their money, be celebrities, have fun,
today.
enjoy themselves,
Sure, if we put on there, people today wouldn't be able to handle it. Is that supposed to be a knock on Jordan's personality?
No, but I think Pippen is flashing. I think Pippen is showing in these interviews and stuff that he kind of does have a mentality of today level players. I think maybe Pippen is he's kind of thinking, what is that what the Clark song Born Too Late or whatever. I think Pippen is wishing he was maybe born in 1995 or something, and he could be playing now in the NBA.
I mean, listen, when Scottie Pippen talks about never going to Michael Jordan's house, never having dinner or playing golf with him, is Scottie Pippen speaking from a place where he tried his hardest to ingratiate himself with Michael Jordan on that level? Because I don't feel like Scottie Pippen did, because if you really felt this way about Michael Jordan, then you really never tried to be Michael Jordan's best friend. What did Michael Jordan say about Scottie Pippen, man? Even at his death, this man was texting me all hours of the night. He wouldn't leave me alone. He kept hounding me. I had no choice but almost to be like, damn, I got to help this guy, man. That was part of Kobe Bryant, the relentlessness of him. And at the end of the day, Michael Jordan respected Kobe Bryant, because why did Kobe Bryant text him and call him and hound him and ask him? Because he wanted to be great. He wanted to be better. He wanted to know what Michael Jordan knew. When you see that photo of Michael Jordan kneeling down or hunched over with Kobe Bryant, they're talking about the damn fadeaway jump shot. Are you kidding me right now? That's what Kobe Bryant's asking him. He's not asking him how to manage his money. He's not asking him what it's like to be so famous or to have his own shoe. He wants to know about the damn jump shot, man. That's why Kobe Bryant and Michael Jordan had that dynamic that no one else had. Not LeBron James, even though he looked up to Michael Jordan. Not Scottie Pippen. No one else. Because Kobe Bryant went after that relationship and he earned that level of love and respect from Michael Jordan. To me, Scottie Pippen did not try to do that. So for him to turn around and say, oh, I wasn't best friends with Michael Jordan or whatever, you didn't have to be best friends with Michael Jordan because you were the best teammates. And that's what he really feels it should have been.
Yep. Justin Fletcher super chats Scap for $5. It says the old players say what they say because they still have emotional damage from the L's MJ handed in the finals.
Yeah, Justin, thank you so much again. And yeah, I think that's a good point. And I think maybe that's why Kobe's getting slandered so much today, because these other players, maybe there's just some innate jealousy that kind of follows these players. And particularly with Pippen, I think there's no doubt about that. That Pippen sees the way Jordan's regarded today and is basically just jealous that he doesn't get more shine.
Can I jump in on that? Because it's also your core personality. You know, I don't think you'll ever hear a John Stockton badmouth Michael Jordan because he lost to him. But also, John Stockton's life has never been based on shine. Mr. Minivan driving up to the game. He appreciates his career. He had a very hard time in the West. He was always up against some tough guys, and it's sort of sad. I think it's sad. I was cheering for John Stockton and Karl Malone against Michael Jordan, but you know, you're not going to hear. I just don't. I think it's a certain personality type that's going to be swayed by the changes in society. Because look at all these guys. Even if they didn't used to think this, they're like, oh, look, I could go on somebody's talk show and give my version of history and try and tell the world that I was actually better than I was and make up for the fact that I didn't get a championship. And there's some guys that just aren't ever going to stoop that low.
Yep. Yeah, I'm not trying to rush through these, but I do got to get going soon. But I'm trying to give all the super chats, to be flashed on the screen and be addressed. I'm not sure who this went to. It's either to AOH or Robin, but it's from Trey for $1.99. It says Zion sucks as a Pelican, Zion sucks should be a comma as a Pelican fan. Never plays games or something like. Anyway, without my critiques of how it's written. Robin, you want to? Robin, you want to?
Yeah. I mean, listen. Yeah, Zion Williamson, a prime for the NBA right now. He's supposed to be one of the primetime players. He's supposed to be one of the guys that you can't wait to turn on the TV and watch. You like you said, New Orleans. I mean, think about it. Anthony Davis requested a trade off of your team to go join LeBron James, in LA, man, when he was supposed to be your guy for all these years. And now you have Zion Williamson, man. My goodness. And think about this. Zion Williamson is signed to the Jordan brand. This man is an embarrassment. He does not stand or represent anything that Michael Jordan represented, man.
Absolutely. All right, let's get to the next one. Super chat for Robin from Roger Hurt for $5. It says, are you saying Pippen isn't a great player? Just kidding. Love the passion and dropping knowledge for the youngins out there.
Yeah, much respect. Thank you once again, Roger Hurt, for coming through and, like I said, supporting our live stream. Thank you very much, man. Yeah, you guys know Scottie Pippen's a great player, man. You guys know the deal, man. These are the facts.
Gemini Girl super chats AOH for $5. It says, can you answer the goddamn question? Or is it more like this? Can you answer the goddamn question?
Hey, I'm glad you caught that. Glad you caught that live against Gilbert. I've got a lot of Gilbert Arenas videos in the queue that I need to.
That's got to be your intro, man.
Yeah.
Thank you for that, Gemini Girl.
Roger Hurt for Scap, but it's linked. Roger Hurt, this isn't going to Scap. It's going to whoever you're watching on. That's how the super chats work. It super chats the channel you're watching. But it says for Scap, even notice how Jordan fans debate with data, but Braun fans debate with semantics. Us, MJ did this, but they say what you're saying is. I guess it's directed to Scap. What do you got to say about that?
Yeah, I mean, there's just so many mental gymnastics that go into specifically. I'm not even talking about the LeBron versus everybody else, just the LeBron versus Jordan element of the conversation. Like, there's literally nothing you can say about in the Jordan LeBron. However, look, I don't think LeBron's top 2. I just said earlier, I don't think he's even top 10 at this point. But over Jordan? How? What? And what? Like, Jordan was better in standard metrics, in advanced metrics. He won more. He led the league more in more things, and he did all of it in substantially less time. There's literally no conversation that you can come to that will find LeBron was better than Jordan at anything. So, of course, yes, the LeBron stan boys, and as I like to call them, the jock sniffers, are always out there trying to create some fantastical bit of conversations that can somehow get LeBron to even footing. It ain't ever going to happen, guys.
DJ Ish super chat Scap for $5. Says, yes, Scap, and the guy was Scottie. That's the point. Shaq needed Kobe.
DJ Ish is back. DJ Ish, thank you so much for your rabid involvement in this stream and for your continual live chat or super chats to me. I really appreciate it. But we're not going to see eye to eye on this one, DJ Ish. If you want to talk Pippen and something Kobe related again, let's talk Powell. Because Kobe needed someone of like 20 guys in the league at that time, just like Jordan needed someone of like 20 guys at the time, and it happened to be Pippen. Like, again, these guys, Powell is immensely grateful for Kobe Bryant. Like, Powell has a jersey hanging in Staples. He's in the Hall of Fame. Like, he's considered a fringe top 75 player because of Kobe. Like, if you look at the non-Kobe years of Pau Gasol, he wasn't that. He wasn't any of that. And that to me is what Pippen is. Like, without Jordan, if he didn't play with Jordan and get that level, of attention and get, I think, some accolades that he probably didn't deserve because the team success, because of what Jordan was primarily doing, I think that we wouldn't be looking at Pippen in the light that we see him in, even the depreciated light we see him in right now.
Yeah,
I want everyone to understand something, man. When Scottie Pippen came into the NBA, right? You know who the Rookie of the Year was? It was Mark Jackson, guys. Mark Jackson, man. And no knock on Mark Jackson, man. He's the last New York Knicks player to win Rookie of the Year. But that's who won Rookie of the Year, not Scottie Pippen, man. Okay, so let's just be clear. And even if it wasn't Mark Jackson, you know who was drafted that year was David Robinson, but he had to go to the Naval Service for a couple of years, man. So once again, where was Scottie Pippen as a rookie, man? Mark Jackson was the Rookie of the Year.
Good point.
Cash super chats $9.99 of cash to Scap with the hang loose thing.
Word.
Cash, thank you very much. Appreciate you. Hang loose to you too. If that thumbs up, I appreciate you, Cash. And again, I appreciate all you guys that are super chatting, but even just all you guys that are out here that are interacting on the chat, that are watching us here today. Really appreciate you guys.
Derek 77 super chats Robin. It says MJ for $4.99. It says MJ just needed a descent 1984 Olympic college team to dominate the entire NBA with their all-stars.
Man, yo, once again, thank you very much, Derek 77 and everyone who's been, this is insane right now, the level of involvement, the level of support you guys are giving us right now. When you talk about the 1984 Olympics, I want everyone to think about this. This is very important we think about this. This is Michael Jordan, who never played a single minute in the NBA. This is Michael Jordan, the kid. And what are you seeing there? All he needs is a little bit of help. Some guys that know how to play the game. Someone like a Patrick Ewing. Someone like a Chris Mullin. All of a sudden, man, these guys are unstoppable out there, man. This is what Michael Jordan did, man. All he needed was a little bit of help to go out there and dominate the game, dominate the All-Star, so much so that it came to a point where Oscar Robertson, who was coaching the Olympic All-Star select team against Michael Jordan's team, against Bobby Knight and Oscar Robertson got to a physical altercation on the sidelines. Because Oscar Robertson got tired of Michael Jordan embarrassing these guys so much so, he told them to be physical with these guys, beat them up out there. So when you see the picture, go bring it up, you'll see the picture of Mike Dunleavy Sr. grabbing Michael Jordan across the face. That's in the Olympic trials. There's two pictures. There's one of the Detroit Pistons doing that, but there's also one of Mike Dunleavy Sr. grabbing Michael Jordan across the face. Michael Jordan went at Mike Dunleavy Sr. in that game, and Oscar Robertson and Bobby Knight got into it on the sidelines, man. This is what Michael Jordan was doing to people out there, man. When people talk about, oh, he got Scottie Pippen, he was 1-9 without Scottie Pippen. Why was he 1-9 without Scottie Pippen? Once again, you're not keeping the historical perspective or the historical record out there. They act like Michael Jordan was out there, choking it up, going against some also-ran teams, man. He wasn't going against Roy Hibbert and Paul George's Pacers. He wasn't going against Carmelo Anthony's New York Knicks or DeMar DeRozan's Toronto Raptors or the Atlanta Hawks with Kyle Korver and Paul Millsap. He was going against some of the all-time great teams, man. You're talking about some of the all-time great teams, man. That's why that man was losing.
Yeah. I just want to say that one from Cash was to me. I just want to say thank you, Cash. I appreciate it.
Oh, sorry, man. Yeah,
that's okay. That's all right.
I can't see it, and I'm not going to monitor everyone's YouTube chat. It's just been going otherwise. But yeah, my bad, dude.
No, it's okay. I just want to tell him thank you. Appreciate it.
Dart, did you want to get a chalkboard behind you and diagram some sentences too? By the way, maybe do some spell checking or something. You're being pretty harsh on some of these.
Hey, there's a big difference between decent and dissent. You got to call that out. You do. Just like LeBron James, primarily instead of preliminarily, when he said he was going to enter the dunk contest. Thank you, 93 Zay, for noticing that. You guys don't know what I'm talking about because it's in my members video, but and hey, Cash, as much as I wish you were giving me all of those super thanks, it's nice of you to spread the love around and give a pity.
Are you Cash? I would, yeah, that's right. Are you Cash?
Pity super thanks to Nick.
I totally forgot about that. I was trying to remember. Yeah. I was like, I know Cash from somewhere. I was like, whatever. Thank you.
Oh, that's hilarious.
McSuggins for $4.99 for AOH says media when discussing old excuses for winning, media discussing modern excuses for losing. Just an observation. Love the streams. Cheers. What do you got to say, AOH?
Well said. Nice and succinct. I think he spelled everything correctly too. Well done.
IFB Sal for $2 for Scap says, what's your top 10 player list?
Can't do it. I cannot give the top 10 right now. It's my 6 through 10 is just it's too jumbled right now. I've been writing, again, I keep teasing this, like a 35 minute video on my top 10, my justifications for it. My top 5 is pretty much out there. I don't mind giving that real quick. It's Jordan, Kobe, Kareem, Duncan, and Hakeem. The five elite two-way players. They did it offensively, defensively. They all won an extreme amount of championships other than Hakeem, who only had the 2, but he did win the MVP and Defensive Player of the Year one year and the Finals MVP and a championship with not a lot of supporting cast against absolutely stacked competition. So he gets a shout into my top 5.
Michael Silberg gives a $2 token super chat for AOH. That's what it says.
Token, Michael, you're a longtime supporter, but I appreciate that. Thank you.
Adidas 20 for $5. It's I think it might be Gilbert Arenas. For the panel, LeBron set a record that Muggsy did not set. LBJ's shot was blocked by 512 different players over 22 years.
Wow.
That is fantastic. Yeah.
That's great, man.
Impressive. It's those longevity counting stats. It works both ways, right? Like, yes, he's played so long. He has he has more points than anybody ever. He also has more missed shots than anybody in the regular season or playoffs, more turnovers than anybody in the regular season or playoffs. And we can just add this Adidas 20. Thank you very much. He was blocked by 512 different players. Impressive, LeBron. Strive for greatness.
He's your Del Sol for $1.99 super chats, either Scat or Nick, because I'm demonetized. Pippen acting hurt. He was never the homie.
What do you think, Nick?
That's not me.
I agree. He never was the homie. I agree. If that was to me, hi, Joe Del Sol. Thank you for the chat, and I agree with you.
Yep. Michael Silberg super chatted this to AOH, but it's directed at Scap. It said, will Kerr and the Warriors ever stop bending over forward and backward for Draymond running small ball just to keep him relevant and in charge?
I absolutely hate Draymond Green. I don't mind saying that. Is hate too strong of a word? I don't think so. He's one of my least favorite players of the modern era, and that's saying a lot because I like practically no one in the modern era. But Draymond Green is amongst the scummiest of all of them. He is a career enforcer who thinks that he's like a 30-point per game career player. Like, bro, like he's an 8-point career NBA scorer that's going to be in the Hall of Fame. Congratulations, because he too kind of coattailed himself to 4 championships, of which I don't really think that he was very attributable to. But that's my own personal take. And he keeps crying about, I just saw him crying on some kind of podcast the other day about he wishes Jordan Poole would get over it already. Get over the fact that, you know, he sucker punched Jordan Poole in the face as hard as he could and is like 60 pounds heavier than Jordan Poole while they were teammates in a summer practice. Yeah, sorry, I guess get over Jordan Poole. Or maybe Draymond Green, just shut up. Shut it down, my guy. Like, do we need the podcasting players? Sorry, I don't want to get on another rant, but I don't like these players actively podcasting when they're still active players in the NBA. That's just me, and Draymond's one of the preeminent guys that does it.
No, but you know, it's very important, Scott, what you're saying there and what you're doing. Because once again, this is about setting the record straight, man. When you're talking about putting out the education and giving the perspective, the context behind this stuff, it's important that we talk about someone like Draymond Green. And once again, let's think about Draymond Green. You mentioned he's probably going to get into the Hall of Fame on the strength of, you know, playing with someone of the dynamic abilities of a Steph Curry, but also due to some of the accolades that he received. This man has a Defensive Player of the Year award accolade on his resume. This is what I talked about earlier, was a resume on paper. Draymond Green, wow, he's one of the elite defenders. So let's say you're a casual fan of the game. You don't know much about the game. You look at Draymond Green, you hear him on his podcast tell you he's one of the great defenders. He calls himself the greatest defender in NBA's history. So when you look at his resume and you say, well, he won a Defensive Player of the Year award, maybe he has some cachet here. Maybe that's true. And then you hear us talk about guys like Kobe Bryant, or you hear us talk about guys like Tim Duncan. You hear us talk about guys like Patrick Ewing, or someone like Scottie Pippen, who have no Defensive Player of the Year awards on their resumes. And I'm going to tell you, those guys are miles ahead of Draymond Green defensively. You're going to say to me, well, he don't have a Defensive Player of the Year award. That's why it's important that we give the context and we educate people that because we can go back and say, oh, well, this guy wasn't that great. He didn't average XYZ stats. Well, back in the day, they didn't even keep steals and blocks. So how are you going to make that argument against those guys, man? It sounds ridiculous, man. Rudy Gobert, once again, 4 Defensive Player of the Year awards in this era. Are we to believe that he's miles that far ahead of Tim Duncan defensively? It's insane.
I got to say that I think you're very unfair to the glue guy of the Golden State Warriors, Draymond Green. And I've said this, I haven't brought this up in a long time, but he is the reason why they've won all those championships. That's all I got to say.
If literally whenever he had words with KD, whenever him and KD got in the spat, and then they suspended Green for 1 game, and basically then essentially sided with Green. If the front office would have come out, unequivocally condemned Green, suspended him indefinitely for conduct detrimental to the team, then either traded him or offloaded him in some way in the offseason, dropped to their knees and kissed Kevin Durant's feet, they would have probably 6 or 7 championships now at this point. So whatever. That's some glue guy right there, Dart. He cost them 2 or 3 championships probably.
You know what else would happen is that Draymond Green would have fallen into oblivion and we wouldn't be listening to his stupid podcast or seeing that stupid Kia commercial that's been on for 3 goddamn years and makes no sense at all.
Yo, but remember, Steph Curry got to take some culpability for a lack of leadership, man. That's part of the problem for Steph Curry, man. This is part of the things that you're supposed to be stepping in there and putting your foot down. Don't be a little shy, light-skinned, scrawny dude, man. Go out there and show that you're the leader of the Golden State Warriors. It's your team. That's why Kevin Durant went there, because he's not a leader. Steph Curry was supposed to be the leader, man. But you allowed Draymond Green to be the emotional and the glue guy, like Dart is saying, when the man's out there kicking guys in the privates in the NBA Finals. That's not glue. Did Dennis Rodman ever put himself in that position? No. You know why? Because Michael Jordan's leadership. I want people to go back and they'll tell you, oh, Dennis Rodman should have won the Finals MVP in 1996. If you go back, what are you? You're looking at the stats? Go look at the games. How many times was Dennis Rodman on the verge of being ejected from those games? This man was on the verge multiple games. Frank Brakowski, Sean Kemp, whoever it was. But Michael Jordan was reeling this man in. Dude, we need you out here. I'm going to help you help me. That's leadership.
I thought you were going to say, Scap, that they would go and bend down on their knees and kiss his ass.
They could do that. They could have done that too. It couldn't have hurt.
That Kia commercial must be local because I don't think I've seen it.
You're kidding me.
God.
You're kidding.
Thank God. Yeah.
I started a video breaking it down years ago, and it's still on. I never published it. I was like, I got more important things to do. Robin, I think you talked about that stupid commercial, haven't you?
Yes.
Hey, just to be clear, like the paler you are, the softer you are.
No, I was just saying that's how people are viewed. You know, I said something earlier in some of my videos when I talked about when I was growing up. People who played soccer, the Europeans, they were considered soft. Not because they are soft. That was the way that we viewed them as Americans, the soccer players. Why would we view them that way? Because they were known as floppers. That's how the Europeans were known back in the day. That's why now they laugh at us. We're the floppers. So when we say someone's soft, or I say don't be a soft light-skinned dude, once again, I'm not that dark-skinned like my father is. So people are going to test you or try you differently because traditionally or has your reputation of being soft, man. These guys, that's how people view Steph Curry. Where's your leadership at, dude?
There's a super chat from Roger Hurd. It says, if Hakeem and MJ were on the same team for their whole career, who would be remembered as greater? What would they have accomplished? And this is to Robin or AOH. Robin.
I mean, listen, these are the things that we were talking about. See, this is where I'll give Scottie Pippen his credit. We can't just sit there and say, oh, because these guys were so great individually, and yes, their games may have went together, or they were so great all around, that means it guarantees them to win championships. That's not necessarily always the case, man. But we've seen with someone like LeBron James. It doesn't always work just throwing together guys that are talented. When I say the dynamic, the synergy between Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen is very important, man. I give Scottie Pippen his just due. We all did growing up. Because remember, Scottie Pippen had to go through those practices with Michael Jordan. He had to go through those workouts with Michael Jordan. He had to put up with a lot of stuff, man. But for you to come back all these years later, it speaks to your character, what is inside of you. Because instead of being proud and happy for you to be playing with the greatest player, or who many people consider the greatest player, you would think that he would take that as an honor. So when I hear him speak, it doesn't match up to what he does. Think about the Hall of Fame induction. Why would you ask Michael Jordan, man? You could have asked anybody else. You could have asked anyone. You could have asked Phil Jackson or somebody. You could have asked somebody else, man. But you asked Michael Jordan for a reason, man. Because Michael Jordan meant that much to you. In that moment, you were thinking clearly. You were being honest. I want to just mention something real quick. When LeBron James was chasing the points for Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, they interviewed Pat Riley. And they asked Pat Riley about this, right? He played for the Miami Heat. Pat Riley coached Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. And they asked him about the record and what it meant. And Pat Riley said, to me, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar will always be recognized as the greatest player of all time. To me. That's what he said. And I have no problem with Pat Riley saying that. If that's his opinion, if that's truly how he feels, fantastic, man. We all love and respect Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's career, man. But you sound contradictory to the actions that you've taken. And what am I talking about? If we all remember, the Miami Heat retired Michael Jordan's number 23. I've mentioned this many times. If Pat Riley really felt that Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was the greatest player of all time, which is fantastic, then why didn't you retire Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's number 33? Why would you retire Michael Jordan's number 23 when he was on the Wizards? And you, in fact, said that you guys are doing this to recognize Michael Jordan, what he meant to the game as the game's greatest player. But then you say Kareem Abdul-Jabbar is the GOAT. So these things don't add up sometimes.
Uncle Rico's Revenge super chats, I believe, AOH for $1.99, and he says, just donating so Dart can't leave.
That's a great comment. Thank you.
Well,
that's really good.
So I'd like to spend 5 minutes breaking down this comment.
Are you able to leave Dart and Nick host this, or does it shut down if you leave?
I got to get going too myself.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah.
My wife's
but
gonna
yeah,
kill me.
Yep. Eddie T. This is the last super chat anyway.
Okay, cool.
Eddie
Nice.
TV says, shout out to AOH, Sports and Fitness, and Scat. Keep your foot on these brawn gobblers' necks. All you guys inspire my channel.
Brawn gobblers. I like that one.
What do y'all got to say about it?
I'm gonna call them brawn goblins.
Yo, that's why we're here, man. Thank you.
Thank you, Eddie TV, and good luck. Good luck with your channel. Best of wishes to you out there with it, and thank you for supporting all of us.
Real.
You got anything from AOH?
Let's see. Yes,
Man, this is a great live, man.
Yeah, I know, and I just ruined it. Sorry.
What? No.
I'll just say thank you.
All right. Yeah, I want to thank everybody for coming through, and the support was absolutely amazing today in respect to the super chats and just the general turnout for watching the show. And I feel bad because I wanted to contribute more, but I also was trying to manage the show. We've been doing super chats for the last hour and 45 minutes, just
cool.
reading them. So that's absolutely amazing. And for the people that wanted to hear more from me, I apologize. I thought it was more important to manage the show instead of giving my perspective on some of these things. I tried to interject some.
Why do you think we have so many super chats, man?
It's because I've shut up. No. But everyone, but for all you guys, for one, I want to thank you, the panel, because you guys absolutely make this show a lot better. I like to do it myself too, but I think this Sunday show, it's really special to me that all you guys show up and the chat as well to share basketball talk on these Sundays. Robin, you got anything for the people?
Absolutely, man. The people came through today, man. I mean, you guys always come through, man. We know that. You guys are always there in the chat, making the comments, always engaging. So you guys are always there. The fact, like I said, that people will donate monetarily to any one of our channels for any reason is, like I said, to me, truly, truly humbling, man. It really means a lot. So once again, thank you to everybody. I hope you guys have a rest of your day, man. Shout out to everybody on the panel again. I love doing the Sunday shows with you guys. Like I said, man, Dart, man, thanks again, like I said, for, running everything and being the coordinator out here while, people like me just ramble on and, take up a lot of the airtime, man. So thank you very much for everything that you do, man. And like I said, man, I hope that we educated the people out there and, what I'm saying, we were able to let them know about some of the things, give them some of the perspective, some of the context. Like I said, it was a great time, man. And you guys know the deal, man. I'll catch you guys on the next one, man.
Nick, you got anything for the people?
No, man, it's just really cool that so many people donate. So yeah, I want to echo that as well. It makes it it's crazy we're getting paid to just talk basketball in a way. So very cool that everyone supports us in the ways that they do.
Hey, Wach.
It is crazy to get paid for that. And other people get paid for that and they don't tell the truth. We're the ones that tell the truth, and that's why people are tuning in. So, and really inspiring was the pity chat for Nick. I want to give a shout out for that again. Yeah. And a shout out to Dart. Dart interviewed me yesterday. I'm not going to put that on my channel. That's his interview. If you want to see it, go to Michael Jordan Fans Are the Best to watch it.
Awesome, thanks. It's doing pretty well so far. I think it's got like
duh.
Yeah. It's got like almost 6,000 views, I think, already, or something like that. Yeah.
Damn, is that the best video you've ever done?
No. No, the best video I've done is
right there.
Yes, indeed.
I've gotten 20,000 views once.
Really?
So, nice. Yeah. No, I think generally I get well, I don't know what I generally get. I haven't been doing good lately, but for a time there, I was getting 4,000 or 5,000 views a video, but it kind of dropped off. That's when I was doing. That's when I was doing reactions, and I kind of got off the reaction train. But
I carried you to the finals, bro.
I was the Scottie Pippen in that interview. Scap, you got anything for the people?
Yeah, guys, just thanks again so much for all of your support out here, for coming in, for super chatting us, and for all of your interaction in general. And I read most of all of the comments throughout the show, so I really enjoy seeing everything that you guys add. And panel, thank you guys as always for being here. Dart, thanks for having us. And win or lose today, Jaden Daniels, everyone out there in basketball land, getting ready to watch these games. Jaden Daniels is the truth. This kid is the best rookie I've ever seen in my life. Like 33 years probably of watching NFL football. Looking excited, pretty excited for these games. Other than that, I just want to say, please, Bills, end this national nightmare that we're all living in. Please do not let the Chiefs get back to the Super Bowl. Let's go, Bills. And finally, of course, R.I.P. Kobe Bryant, the legend. I think about him pretty much every day. So on this day, most of all, rest in power, legend Kobe Bryant.
We got this last super chat that came in. We'll just leave it at this, but it says to AOH and Scab, did you know there was an article that said MJ and Phil had to make Grant the scapegoat because of Scottie's screw up because Horace was mentally tougher than Scottie? This article came out after The Last Dance. Yeah.
I'll have to look into the article, Sonny Woods. Thank you very much. And just think of yourself as lucky that Dart didn't break down your sentence structure on this one. Get the chalk and the blackboard out. Thank you for the super chat. Thanks for the tip. I'll go and look for the article after we get off here.
Oh man. Yeah, that's not a subtle little comment there. That's a deep topic.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But yeah, thank you again, everyone. I hope you all have a fantastic day, and please take some time if you haven't thought about the career of Kobe Bryant and just his impact on the game and basketball culture, and then the impact of his loss. You know, it was a very tragic event that happened today. So I ask you to take a second to think about that. And otherwise, Michael Jordan fans are the best.